The protagonist possesses the power of the king of encountering demons and comes to the collapse world to create a series of stories behind the scenes. Other worlds may appear later. The author is still a student and can only be updated on Saturdays and Sundays when available. We hope everyone can understand and try to keep updating. Chapter 1. First Arrival Collapse. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. In the midst of chaos, there exists a tree and a sea, both wanting to devour each other and become the only supreme being. After a long time, the arrival of a dark golden figure breaks the long-standing balance. Where have I been? The dark golden figure looked around with a puzzled voice, looking at the trees and sea in front of them. Suddenly, a memory came to the figure's mind. Collapse. Kiana. The dark golden figure let out a sigh. I didn't expect to come to this place. It's also great, you can go and see Kiana and the others. As the dark golden figure spoke, he took a step forward and arrived at the tree of the imaginary number. Suddenly, the tree shone brightly, but the dark golden figure was not surprised. Then he arrived at a pure white space, where there was a figure in front of him who could not see the appearance clearly, but could see the shape clearly. A majestic female voice rang out, "Outsiders, speak your purpose." The dark golden figure calmly looked at the other person, "The tree of unreal numbers, I have no malice, I just want to witness or create a story." The tree of unreal numbers remained silent for a moment, looking at the dark golden figure in front of me that made me feel threatened. "Don't cross my bottom line." After speaking, it disappeared. Looking at the tree of unreal numbers that had left, the dark golden figure replied, "I will pay attention, but I want this story to be more exciting." After that, it entered the world of Collapse 3. Boundary line, report to Captain, unidentified flying objects have been found over Shanghai City. The target location has been determined, and the optical detection target is not visible. There is no biological energy signal response, and the internal situation cannot be detected. Small-scale collapses are gathering and the risk level of the mission is increasing to A. The combat plan has been confirmed, and the drone unit has been deployed to cover the landing of the Valkyrie. The voice of the AI came to an end, with a man with red hair and eyes and a beautiful woman. No, only the woman frowned as she watched the video from the Humboldt ground detection system. A huge warship appeared over Shanghai City, attracting not only many collapsing beasts but also the risk of crashing. Wuliang Tajiko looked at Kiana, who had just arrived at the top of the building, and her worried expression became even stronger. She turned to the man beside her and said, "Captain, the risk of this mission is too high. It's better to let Kiana and the others come back." The man who was made captain by Jeezy remained silent for a moment and said, "Jeezy, believe in Kiana and the others. Besides, you are also the backup. This time, let's treat it as exercise for Kiana and the others." Jeezy's face showed a hint of hesitation, but if anything happens to them. Before she could finish speaking, a young girl's voice came from the communicator, "Auntie Jeezy, don't worry, I won't be stumped by a mere A-level task. Looking forward to my performance." Listening to the sound coming from the communicator, Jeezy sighed helplessly, "Okay, but Kiana, be careful and don't even call me Auntie." Hey. The mischievous voice of the girl came from the communicator and hung up. Jeezy slammed the table with some anger and said, "Kiana, when she comes back, she must give him good practice." The captain looked at the scene with a smile on his side, and suddenly Jeezy seemed to have something on her mind. She turned to the captain and said, "Captain, do you think that blood submersible will appear again this time?" The captain put away his smile and turned to the screen, saying, "He used to appear every time we went on a mission, so this time he should also appear." Jeezy frowned. This blood hidden was a sudden armored man who attacked the Kiana team after a mission ended. Although it did not cause any serious casualties, it was an unstable factor. Her stance was wavering, sometimes attacking the Valkyrie, and sometimes helping her fight against the collapse. "I don't know if he will appear again this time." During the conversation between the captain and Hiko, the drone had already departed from the Humboldt and was approaching the building where Kiana was located. "Kiana, hurry up," GZ said in the communicator. Yes, it's easy to say," Kiana replied to Hiko in an impatient tone. At this moment, the captain plugged in and said, "Kiana, there's something I hope you pay attention to." "Hey, what's up with the captain?" Kiana's tone became lively again. "You can be more lenient with drones later, that's all money." Upon hearing the captain's words, GZ was momentarily taken aback, then seemed to have thought of something, with a look of schadenfreude on her face. "What's up, Captain? Am I the kind of person who can hit my teammates hard? And you're not worried about me, but about these drones?" "Well, that's because I have full confidence in the strength of the super invincible giant TM Cute Kiana, so please take it lightly. After all, maintenance also requires funds." "Humph, I'm not listening to you. I'm going on a mission. Last time, I defeated the broken beast and scrapped 5 planes. Isn't that okay, Dot?" The drone has arrived at the building where Kiana is located, and the captain, who had always had a calm face, has become more serious. Ziana looked at the sky that had been occupied by the advanced level collapse, and the drone had already begun to engage in battle with the collapse beast. Bang! The drone collided with the shattered beast, and a huge spark burst out in front of Kiana, but the girl's face did not show any timidity. After all, this scene was already familiar to her. "Hiss, it's over." The captain's mournful voice reached Kiana's ears through the communication area. Kiana's mood became a bit restless as she turned around and watched the drone roaring over from behind, flipping forward. "My young lady, stay." Nico listened to the voice coming from the communicator, and Kiana became even more determined about her actions. Charm, a huge cat claw appeared in front of Kiana and accurately stepped on the drone. The drone exploded, causing the building where Kiana was located to collapse. "TSK, what a mess." GZ's helpless voice rang out. "Captain, the drone is broken," Kiana said in a very cheerful tone, bringing bad news to the captain. "Kiana, let's talk about it later. I'll send a new drone to your side now," the captain's voice echoed in Kiana's ear. "Oh, this is so bad. What if I accidentally damage your drone, Captain?" "Kiana, let's put aside your temper first. Your primary goal now is to complete the mission. We must stop this out-of-control warship, otherwise there will be danger in the sea, and the detector shows that many dead are approaching you." The captain's voice became serious. All right, I got it." Kiana put away her temper and looked down at the white humanoid creature running towards her. Without fear, she rushed towards the other person, Nekakam. The huge cat claws appeared once again, sweeping out a large area of the dead. Kiana picked up her 2 guns and fired at the group of the dead. Although she was just a B.level goddess, clearing these dead was still very easy. Bang! The last dead soldier fell down. "Captain, GZ, the clearance of the dead has been completed. Received, the drone has arrived at the target location and is ready for action." Received, Tencent hangs up again. Kiana quickly ran to the edge of the collapsed building and jumped to the top of the drone as it approached. "GZ, please help me take a look first. I'll go to the restroom and come back soon. If there's any unexpected situation, you can give orders for me." Wang Jianchang understood as he watched Kiana getting closer to the moonlight throne. "Oh, okay, no problem, go and get back quickly." GZ looked at the normal situation of the war and felt that there wouldn't be anything wrong with the store manager leaving for a while. "Thank you." The captain ran to the toilet, quickly locked the toilet door after entering the toilet, and checked whether there was anyone else in the toilet. After confirming that there was no one around, the captain's body suffused with red light, red particles floated out of the captain's body, and condensed into an identical person in front of the captain. After saying, "No problem," the main body, the clone left the toilet, while the captain took out a purple bottle, shook it for a moment, and then took out a gun that looked like a toy, and installed the bottle on the gun. The sound effect comes from the Cobra gun. "Steaming blood," said the captain and pulled the trigger. A black mist emerged from the muzzle, enveloping the entire captain's body. Cobra, Cobra. The black mist shimmered with bursts of red light, and soon the mist dissipated, revealing the overall blood-red chest and blue armor around the eyes. Fire, now, it's my performance time, said Xueqian, pulling the trigger. White mist surged out of the smoke gun, and when the mist dissipated, Xueqian had already disappeared into the restroom. Externally, as Kiana was about to approach the moonlight throne in a drone, an alarm suddenly sounded in Hubert Lane. Warning, warning, strong collapse detected. Can react, speculated to be an Emperor-level collapse beast, the target is approaching the drone. Jeezy's face instantly became heavy, and the Imperial-level collapse beast was no longer something that Kiana and her companions could fight against. Kiana, now there is an Imperial-level collapse beast approaching you. The drone is about to approach the unidentified warship. Look for the opportunity to jump in and avoid pursuit. Auntie Jeezy, I saw that big guy. I'll report back to you when I kill him. Kiana. You. The Emperor-level collapse beast has reached the surface of the drone. Kiana looked at the dilapidated collapse beast in front of her and said, "Come on, big guy." The collapse beast also stared at Kiana, and then its eyes lit up with pink light. It used the collapse beast's ability to construct a high-speed rotating circular blade around it, and then charged straight towards Kiana. Kiana saw the machine roll over and dodged the collision, opening the time and space brake device. The top of the drone seemed to have opened up a small space and increased by 0.25 times the speed. The speed of the collapsing beast slowed down instantly. After landing, Kiana lifted her gun and fired 2 shots at the collapsing beast, but unfortunately it didn't have much effect. Then, she rushed behind the collapsing beast and activated the burst mode of white armor, Nekikar, to launch a continuous attack on the collapsing emperor. The huge cat claws repeatedly hit the body of the shattered beast, but none of them had much effect. As the time and space rupture passed, Kiana felt a little unwilling. "This big guy is really hard, I don't believe I can't deal with you today," she said. Kiana was preparing to continue attacking the collapse beast when it quickly escaped from the drone after the time and space break ended. Kiana was taken aback for a moment, then smiled and said, what kind of Imperial-level collapse beast? I'm not going to run away in front of you. Jeezy, I have already defeated the collapse beast and now I can see the moonlight throne. Received, Kiana, ready to land. Jeezy was stunned for a moment, because this sentence was not what she said. She turned around and saw that the captain had already returned. Has the captain returned? Unfortunately, you didn't see my young lady's heroic performance just now in defeating the Emperor-level collapse beast. Yes, our Kiana is the best, the captain praised Kiana in a childish tone. We're approaching an unidentified warship, Kiana, get ready to land. Captain. Kiana wanted to say that she wasn't a child, but in the end, she didn't say it and prepared to land on an unknown warship. But in a place unknown to everyone, Blood Qian put down the smoke rifle in his hand and said, unfortunately, he let it run away, but it's okay, anyway, it will come later. He then dismantled the smoke rifle into a smoke gun, pulled the trigger, and as the smoke disappeared in place, the drone approached the deck of the unidentified warship, and Kiana jumped directly onto it at the right moment. I have successfully landed on deck, Captain. There are about 30 minutes left until the warship crashes. We must gain control of this warship and never let it destroy Shanghai City. Your teammates have also arrived at the designated location, and they should contact you later. Yai, you said Yai and the others have also arrived, right? They can meet Yai soon. Kiana's voice became excited. Calm down a bit, don't keep playing with Yai all day. Yai, the Emperor-level collapse beast you just fought against is now nowhere to be seen. Be vigilant, GZ said helplessly after hearing Kiana's words. Humph, when that big guy calms down, miss, I will have already driven the warship home. In the control room of Hubrian, the captain and Jeezy looked at the screen in front of them, on which were Yai and Bologna, which were about to be built. "Captain, what do you think of that Imperial-level collapse beast?" To be honest, with Kiana's current strength, they are completely unable to handle the Emperor-level collapse beast, but they suddenly withdrew during the confrontation with Kiana. It seems that there are other hidden dangers in this mission. "Oh, I hope everything goes smoothly for this mission," Jeezy sighed. The captain looked at Jeezy's worried expression and said in his heart, "Not to mention the original timeline, this mission won't be very dangerous, let alone have a blood dive. If it weren't for the sake of ensuring the plot, I would have wanted to be unparalleled and charge forward." The captain sighed in his heart and then turned his gaze to the screen. On the other hand, Yai also successfully boarded the warship. "Kiana, I am Yai. I have safely arrived at the target area now." "Yai, that's great. I'll go meet you right now." "Hey. Wait, Kiana, we should act according to the plan. Yai, we are the best partners. If we act together, it would be twice the result with half the effort." "That word is twice the result with half the effort," Yai said helplessly. "Oh, no matter what words he uses, don't you also mention the battle plan. You can change the battle plan according to the situation. Just wait for me to come over in place." After Kiana finished speaking, she used the positioning system to locate Yai's position and quickly rushed over. Chapter 2. Blood Potential. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Looking at Kiana's signal approaching Yai's signal on the screen, Jeezy said helplessly, "I knew this would happen." "After all, this is Kiana," the captain said with a smile. On the other hand, Kiana was cleaning up the dead while muttering, "I haven't seen Yai for 2 hours, 27 minutes, and 38 seconds. I can't bear it for a minute anymore. Don't block the way, you dead guys." On the other deck of the warship, Yai has cleared the surrounding dead and is reporting to the captain. "Captain, the dead on my deck have been cleared." "Got it, Yai, be vigilant. Kiana is rushing towards your side and will be by your side soon." "Okay, Captain," heard Kiana approaching, and a slight smile appeared on Yai's lips. However, she didn't notice that a fallen warrior behind her was slowly getting up and launching an attack on Yai, who had relaxed her guard. At this moment, a rapid sound of footsteps came. Yai turned her head and saw that Kiana was rushing towards her. Just as Yai was about to say hello, Kiana jumped up and flew towards Yai in a flying kick posture. Yai was stunned as she watched Kiana launch an attack on her. Kiana's flying kick instantly pierced through her and flew away the corpse behind Yai, who was preparing to launch a surprise attack. At this moment, Yai regained her senses and looked at the dead soldier who had been hit by Kiana. She understood that Kiana had just wanted to save her. Just as she wanted to thank her, Kiana pounced on Yai, and the two girls tightly hugged each other. Together, the scene is so warm. Yai. Having Yai is equivalent to having the power of 100 people. With the power of 100 people, I am not a superhero. Kiana squinted her eyes and playfully looked at Yai, saying, "No, as long as Yai is around, I feel like I have gained 100 times more power." Yai chuckled lightly and said, "It's really something that only Kiana would say." "Captain, Jeezy, I have successfully merged with Yai." Kiana thought of reporting the situation to the captain after getting intimate with Yai. "Got it, but Kiana, if you're still so flexible, don't come to the next mission," Jeezy said helplessly. "Hey. But I didn't sabotage the plan either. If you don't follow the command and act without authorization, you have already to some extent destroyed the plan," Jeezy said angrily. Yai and the captain, who were watching the interaction between Jeezy and Kiana, both smiled at the same time. Then, Yai smiled and said to Kiana, "Next time, you should listen carefully to the command of the operation. Do you know, Kiana?" Got it, go ahead and complete this task before we talk." Kiana quickly changed the topic when she saw Yai preaching to her. "I really can't do anything about you," Yai smiled helplessly as she saw Kiana's intentions. Kiana and Yai arrived at the rear of the warship, and along the way, they only encountered some scattered dead soldiers and disintegrating beasts. The front is the tail of this warship, right? Yai said to Kiana. The captain said we should wait for Bologna to come over at the stern and then concentrate on breaking through. Kiana scratched her head with some uncertainty. However, there is always a sense of foreboding. Yai frowned and said. Yai, you don't have to worry. There are enemies where I can't eliminate them, Kiana said confidently. Just as Kiana was bragging to Yai, a huge black shadow appeared behind her. Wait. Kiana. Be careful behind you. Yai immediately realized something was wrong and shouted loudly. Kiana heard Yai's shout and her brain had not yet reacted, but her body instinctively reacted and rolled to the side. Just the second after Kiana left the spot, an attack landed at the spot where Kiana had just stood, creating a deep pit. Wow, it's so close. Kiana, who stood up again after rolling, let out a sigh of fear as she looked at the miserable situation where she had just stood. Looking up at the place where the attack was coming, a familiar figure stood there, which was the shattered emperor who had recently fought and fled with Kiana. Damn it, GZ said anxiously as she hammered the command post again. Kiana's armor hasn't been fully charged yet, and she can't handle that armor either. The captain quickly arranged a drone for me, and I immediately set off to rescue them. After speaking, she walked towards the door. The captain sighed as he looked at GZ's receding figure. Love sauce, please contact the logistics department to send a drone to escort GZ. A green-haired girl with 2 cabbage heads appeared on the screen in front of the captain and replied, received the captain. On the other side, but... Damn it, how did this guy become so strong? Kiana sat on the ground, her armor was damaged in multiple places, and some blood was flowing out of her abdomen. Kiana pressed her hand on the wound while looking at Yai who was fighting. No, I need to go help Yai. Kiana tried to stand up but unfortunately failed. Yai, who was fighting, seemed to hear Kiana's call and turned to look at her, just in time to see her fall. Yai's gaze became resolute. I can't fall down yet, at least let Kiana out. After saying that the collapse energy near Yai was gradually increasing, the collapse beast felt a threat and launched an attack on Yai. Yai put on a posture of drawing a sword and preparing to strike close. Full energy bottle, rifle mode, a sound came from afar, followed by an attack that flew directly from afar and blew up the shattered beast. Yai was stunned for a moment, and the rising shattered energy around her also stopped and rapidly descended. Yai looked towards the direction of the attack, and an armored man stood there, holding a rifle in his hand. The armored man put down his gun and said to himself, dealing with these shattered beasts, the smoke system is getting weaker and weaker. The previous time, we could only deal a heavy blow to the temple-level shattered beast. It seems that we need to change our armor. After pondering for a while, the armored man looked over to Yai and extended his hand to greet him, saying, Hello, Miss Thunderbolt Yai, we're meeting again. We're still in the same awkward situation as last time. Yai looked at Xue Qian with some shame and said, Thank you, Mr. Xue Qian. You saved me again. Blood Qian wanted to say something more, but the shattered beast that had just been knocked away had already recovered and let out a roar, charging towards Blood Qian. Let's put the nostalgia aside for now, we need to solve this big guy first. Blood Qian stopped talking as he looked at the collapsing beast rushing towards him. The disintegration beast was very fast and arrived not far from the blood-hidden body in an instant, but blood-hidden was not anxious at all. Just as the disintegration beast approached the blood-hidden body, the armor on the blood-hidden body's chest shone brightly, and 2 huge cobras rushed out, catching the disintegration beast off guard. Then, he wrapped his body around the disintegration beast and tied it in place. Blood-hidden walked forward calmly and put a full energy bottle into a smoke rifle, then pressed the muzzle into the disintegration beast's head. I told you to run away before, but this time it won't, chow, and then pulled the trigger. The huge explosion destroyed the disintegration beast's head. It also submerged the figure of Blood Hidden. Yae leaned down to resist the shock wave generated by the explosion for Kiana. After the smoke dissipated, Yae lifted her head and looked towards the direction of Blood Qian. At this moment, the Imperial-level shattered beast had a big hole in its head and collapsed in front of Blood Qian, no longer moving. It was already dead and could no longer die. Blood Qian turned his head to look at Yae, or more accurately, at Kiana, who was protected by Yae in his arms. Blood Qian walked slowly to Yae and squatted down to carefully examine the wound on Kiana's body. It was not a big problem and he was able to save her, but his physical strength was a bit overdrawn. "Mr. Xueqian, how is Kiana now?" "No problem, right?" Actually, Yae doesn't need to ask this question. After all, she studied at St. Freya College with Dr. Baoxing Yongmeng for a period of time, and it can be seen that Kiana is not a big problem. However, she was afraid that she had overlooked something that would put Kiana in danger before asking about the situation of Xueqian. "It's hopeless, wait until you die, go back and prepare to eat." Xueqian originally wanted to be honest, but suddenly wanted to tease Yae before saying so. Upon hearing Blood Qian's words, Yae was momentarily taken aback. She lowered her head and looked at Kiana in a coma, feeling sad. Tears flowed from her eyes. "I'm sorry, Kiana, it's all my fault." Yae's tone was also mixed with concern, not noticing Blood Qian's tone. Looking at the crying girl in front of him, Blood Qian was about to say a few words when a 3-no voice came from behind. "Please don't tease Sister Yae anymore, Mr. Blood Qian, otherwise Bologna will use some tough measures." Blood Qian didn't immediately turn back, but first said to Yae, "Don't worry, this paramecium is fine. Just a moment ago, I teased you." Then he turned to look at the heavily loaded bunny in Bologna who had aimed the muzzle at him and said, "Hi, long time no see, Bologna. Can you please order your heavily loaded bunny to put down the cannon in his hand? I was wrong, I shouldn't have teased Yae. I dare to do it again next time." Bologna detected that Mr. Blood Hidden was unrepentant and ready to take compulsory measures. After saying that, the muzzle of the reloaded little rabbit began to gather energy. Blood Hidden looked at the muzzle aimed at himself and said, "I was wrong, but my body didn't panic." Just 1 second before the reloaded little rabbit's muzzle had gathered energy, the muzzle instantly shifted direction, and the shell was fired, hitting a passing advancing level collapsing beast without leaving any dust. "I knew that Bologna couldn't possibly take action against me, so it seems I made the right bet," said the blood snaker to Bologna in a snake-like manner. "Report to the captain that Bologna has joined forces with Sister Yae and the others, and Blood Submarine appeared to save Sister Yae. Please only take the next action." Bologna ignored Blood Submarine's words and reported the current situation to the command center. "Received, Bologna, remember to thank Mr. Blood Submerged. Next, you will continue to control the warship according to the planned form. Azu, please help me connect Jeezy's communicator," the captain replied. "Received, Captain." Bautzai's head flashed past and instantly connected to Jeezy's communicator. "Captain, what's up?" Jeezy asked in confusion when she saw the communication sent by the captain. "The crisis on Yae's side has been resolved, and it was the Blood Dive who took action," the captain replied. "Oh. Did that blood sneak in? It seems I don't need to go there anymore." "It's a waste of time," GZ said with a sigh of relief. "Blood Submarine can be considered a friendly army at present, GZ, you can come back first," said the captain. After saying, GZ received it, the drone under GZ's feet turned around and flew back to Hubrian. Chapter 3. The Battle of the Three British Ducks. You are listening at novelfull.audio. After receiving instructions from the captain, Bologna drifted up to Yae and looked at Kiana lying in Yae's arms, judging, "Idiot, Kiana's injury is not serious, but we need to find a way to wake her up, otherwise she will remain unconscious and easily drag us down." "How should we awaken Kiana?" Yae asked. Leave this to me, Xue Qian said and walked over to Kiana's side. His left hand was like magic, and when he flipped it, a fragrant chicken leg appeared. Xue Qian placed the chicken leg on Kiana's nose. In no time, Kiana's mouth dripped with saliva and a silly smile appeared on her face. She even said, "Chicken legs, hee hee, chicken legs made from yai, ah." Kiana opened her mouth and wanted to bite the chicken legs, but Xue Qianyan quickly withdrew them. Kiana missed a single hit and wanted to bite again. This time, Blood Qian didn't hide. Kiana bit the chicken leg with just one bite, and Blood Qian took the opportunity to let go. Kiana also raised her hands and grabbed the chicken leg, causing a burst of hard work. In just 3 or 4 bites, one chicken leg was gone. After finishing, Kiana still licked her lips with reluctance. Seeing this, Yai and Blonia already knew that Kiana had already woken up. As for why she didn't get up, coughing, Xue Qian looked at Yai beside him and could only say that she understood everything. "Kiana, how are you feeling? Are you feeling any discomfort?" Although Yai understood that Kiana had already woken up, she quickly forgot about Kiana pretending to be unconscious and began to care about her physical condition. "Well, don't worry, Yai. I'm in good health." Fearing that Yai wouldn't believe it, she patted her chest with her hand, but it seemed like she was exerting too much force. Kiana's face still showed a hint of pain. Kiana looked at the expression on Kiana's face, and Yai gently hugged Kiana, hoping that this would make her feel better. All right, the lilies should wait for you to go back and bloom. Now let me treat Kiana's body first." Looking at the scene of the lilies blooming in front of me, Xue Qian said that I don't want to suffer from this. Then he took out a white full energy bottle and shook it towards Kiana. Some white particles drifted out of the bottle and entered Kiana's body, causing her wounds to heal quickly and visibly. "Wow, it's such a magical thing. Can you lend me the blood-hidden thing for a period of time so that I don't have to go to the medical room after Aunt Jeezy's training and can spend more time playing games?" Kiana exclaimed as she looked at the healing wound on her body, and even a flash of spiritual light flashed in her mind. She thought that if she had this thing, she wouldn't have to go to the medical room if she got injured in the future, and could free up more time to play games. "No, I borrowed this thing from someone else, and I have to return it later," Xue Qian refused and put away the doctor's energy bottle in his hand. "Oh, okay," Kiana replied with some disappointment as she watched her plan fall through. "Since stupid Kiana has recovered, let's continue with the mission." "There's not much time left," Brunia, who had been quietly watching from the side, reminded. "Yes, the most important thing now is the task," Yai also realized and turned to Xue Qian, asking, "Is Mr. Xue Qian also coming?" "Well, after all, my purpose this time is to investigate this unknown warship," Blood Qian nodded and agreed. The captain then sent a communication saying, "I agree with Blood Submarine following you, but be careful to keep an eye on him and not let him cause any damage." Yai received it, and "Thank you, Captain." Yai understood the captain's intention and thanked him before repeating what the captain had just said to everyone. "I don't have any objections, I can only take some photos at most," Xue Qian agreed to the conditions proposed by himself. Seeing that the others had no objections, everyone set off to the interior of the warship. As for the gate, when Blonia arrived, she cracked it. Walking through the passage inside the warship, Yai chopped down a robot and asked Blonia, who was cracking the system, "Blonia, you seem to be familiar with the protection system of this warship." Along the way, as she watched Blonia skillfully crack the systems on the warship, Yai couldn't help but feel a hint of doubt in her heart. She had seen Blonia hack other systems before, but the cracking time was more than 5 minutes, and this time it even took less than 3 minutes to crack. If anyone didn't know her, they would think that this warship belonged to Blonia. Blonia has encountered such a system before, so cracking it is relatively easy, Blonia replied without looking up. "Have you seen it before? Is it in inverse entropy?" Blood Qian asked as he sat on a collapsed beast corpse. Well, the design philosophy, style, and even badge imprints here have many inverse entropy features, but Blonia doesn't understand why this warship appears here, Blonia replied. I will pay more attention to the trend of inverse entropy in the future, Blood Qian replied. In fact, Blood Qian understands what inverse entropy is doing, but the scenes that need to be played still need to be played. As Blonia pressed the last enter button, the indicator light on the door changed from red to green, and everyone entered the power room where a huge machine was running. Blonia frowned as she looked at the machine. The destructive energy contained in this level of power furnace would be unimaginable if a warship crashed. Shanghai City would definitely be gone, and other cities would also be greatly affected. We need to speed up, everyone, Blonia estimated the remaining time and said to everyone. On the way to the control room, Blonia looked at the mech on the roadside and had an idea. She turned her head and said, Blonia can hack into a mech so that we can significantly increase our travel speed. The running crowd stopped and glanced at each other before agreeing to Blonia's suggestion. Without hesitation, Blonia quickly hacked into a mech. Everyone entered the mech and looked at the dazzling array of operating equipment in front of them. Her eyes under the blood submarine armor gleamed slightly as she wanted to try the operation. She asked which man could resist the temptation of the mech. But someone was faster, and Kiana sat down on the rack and let out a sigh of amazement. Just as she was about to get started, Blonia stopped her. It takes a long period of training to operate a mech, and Blonia doesn't think stupid Kiana has the ability to operate a mech. Blonia said, Hey, Blonia, what do you mean? Do you look down on me, Mississippi? Kiana replied angrily. No, Blonia is just stating objective facts, Blonia said calmly. Alright, stop arguing. Time is tight now, Kiana, please step aside and let Blonia, who is more familiar with mecha, operate it. Looking at the two people who were about to argue, Yai stepped forward and became a mediator. Seeing that Yai had said so, Kiana had no choice but to give up the flying position. Blonia sat in the flying position and directly activated the mech, turning all the enemies she encountered along the way into scrap metal. Watching Blonia drive unparalleled all the way, Kiana also felt a little itchy. She saw a big red button on the control panel, and based on her long-term experience playing the game, she believed it must be a big killer. However, when she saw another enemy rushing towards her, Kiana pressed it without thinking. In an instant, the control panel was filled with warnings, warning. Warning. The mech is about to explode, please evacuate as soon as possible. Blonia also reacted and looked at Kiana, saying, Stupid Kiana, why did you press the self-destruct button? You need to get out now. Leave it to me, said Xue Qian, pulling out his smoke gun and pulling the trigger. In an instant, smoke filled the entire cab, and after the smoke dissipated, everyone disappeared into the cab. 10 seconds later, both the mech and the enemy perished, and a cloud of smoke appeared not far away. After the smoke dissipated, everyone appeared inside the warship again. Good risk, Yai breathed a sigh of relief as she looked at the wreckage of the mecha in the distance. It's all thanks to stupid Kiana, who made the buttons press recklessly, Blonia said with some resentment. Kiana wanted to say something more, but Xue Qian interrupted her thoughts. Alright, let's stop the argument for now. We've arrived at the control room door, and Blonia will leave it to you next. Blonia didn't say a word, just nodded, and then drifted to the door to start hacking into the program. About a minute later, Blonia pressed the last enter button and the door in front of her opened. The crack is complete, Blonia said. It's hard, Blonia. Xue Qian walked up to Blonia and stepped into the control room. After confirming that there was no danger, he also let Yai and the others enter. We haven't found any enemies yet. Blonia is starting to crack the main system. The blood sneaker turned to Blonia. Blonia drifted up to the console, ready to start cracking the main system, but when she opened the control panel, she hesitated for a moment. What's going on? All operating permissions are open, no password, how could this be? This is too strange, isn't it equivalent to delivering this warship to us? Yai asked when she heard Blonia's words. Blonia, be careful if there is a virus. This is the captain's voice from Blonia's communication system, recorded through Valkyrie armor. The captain is worried that this may be a trap. Received, Captain, but after reinstalling the little rabbit and analyzing it, no virus was found in the main control system, but an email was found. Email. The people present were all stunned for a moment. Dear Kiana, hello. This battleship, the Moonlight Throne, will finally be returned to you in 14 years. You will ascend to the throne of thorns and create a brand new world. Of course, before that, you need to find 4 keys. Conquering thunder, desiring storm, silent death, and flame of epidemic. Oh, by the way, the navigation code is your birthday. Blonia read out the contents of this email. Conquered lightning, storm, death, flames. How could I hear so familiar? GZ felt a bit familiar but couldn't remember it. Let's go back and ask Teresa later, the captain thought for a moment but didn't think of anything before putting it down. By the way, Blonia, Kiana's birthday is on December 7th. Let's give it a try first. Received, Captain. Blonia entered the password and indeed entered the navigation interface. Change the navigation route, target, St. Freya Academy. The route has been changed. Watching Blonia operate, Blood Submarine said to Kiana, Kiana, who do you think gave you this warship? Kiana thought for a moment and said, first, exclude Aunt, and then exclude Dad too, because this is not his style, and there seems to be no one else. Just as Blood Xian was talking to Kiana, Blonia's body began to tremble, and then his armor underwent a strange change. Yai was the first to notice something was wrong and wanted to step forward to control Blonia. However, as soon as she walked behind Blonia, Xueqian grabbed Yai's hand and retreated. As soon as she left Yai's previous position, a small hole broke through, revealing a red and black robot. It's a reinstalled little rabbit, thank you, Blood Hidden. The dentist breathed a sigh of relief and thanked Blood Hidden. Don't be in a hurry to thank you, just look at Blonia. Bloody eyes kept staring at Blonia without leaving. Detected abnormal biochip. Forcibly controlled emergency system. Restarted, switched to exclusion mode, and eliminated all surrounding organisms, Blonia said like a robot. Boo. Kiana wanted to shout out to Blonia, but before she could even shout out, the heavily armed bunny launched an attack on her. Fortunately, Kiana reacted quickly and turned around to avoid the blow. If she missed the shot, the heavily armed bunny turned its gun and fired at the nearby Blood Submarine and Yai. Run! Xueqian pushed away Yai and dodged the blow, shouting to wake up the absent-minded Yai and let her avoid the attack. Kiana took advantage of the heavily armed bunny to launch an attack on the Blood Diver and quickly approached Blonia. She raised the stock of her gun and hit her neck, but the heavily armed bunny responded promptly by raising its arm to block the blow and swinging its other arm to counterattack. Seeing that the blow failed, Kiana immediately withdrew and avoided it. Yai, I'll go control the reinstalled bunny later, and you go knock out Blonia, Xueqian said to Yai not far away, nodding. The Blood Submarine rushed directly towards the heavy bunny. The heavy bunny felt the threat and immediately lifted its muzzle, firing at the Blood Submarine. The Blood Submarine did not hesitate to withstand the firepower and rushed to the front of the heavy bunny, shouting, "The smoke system is not working, but the escape and defense are definitely top-notch." Then it directly collided with the heavy bunny, separated it from Blonia, and pressed it down to the ground. It took out a smoke rifle, full energy bottle, rifle mode, and aimed it at the heavy bunny. Pulling the trigger, an explosion erupted between the Blood Submarine and the heavy bunny, and the Blood Submarine was directly blasted out by the explosion, while the heavy bunny flew out, being quantized and unable to reproduce in a short period of time. On the other hand, Blonia, who had lost her heavy bunny, struggled with the joint efforts of Yai and Kiana, but soon lost and was knocked unconscious by Kiana. Watching Blonia subdued, Blood Hidden also climbed up from the ground. Kiana and Yai also received a message from Hubrian. Kiana, Yai, are you okay? How is Blonia's situation now? Don't worry, Captain, Blonia has been controlled and there have been no casualties, Yai replied. Thank goodness, you're okay, the captain breathed a sigh of relief. Blonia, who was in Yai's arms, woke up. Captain, Blonia requests a comprehensive examination of Blonia's body after returning. Blonia doesn't want to hold everyone back in any way. The captain smiled and said, sure, I'll wait for you to come back. Cough cough interrupted the conversation between Kiana and the others. Kiana and the others turned their heads to look at Xue Qian, who said, my mission has been completed and I won't be here for a long time. Let's say goodbye first. Looking forward to the next meeting, girls, ciao. Xue Qian waved his hand, then took out his smoke gun, pulled the trigger, and disappeared into the battleship. Goodbye, Blood Hidden. The girls bid farewell to Blood Hidden in their hearts. Chapter 4. Saint Freya College. You are listening at novelfull.audio. After the incident in Shanghai City, the girl and her group also returned to Saint Freya College. The overall style of Saint Freya Academy leans towards Western Europe, occupying an area larger than ordinary universities. The campus is filled with the laughter and joy of young girls. Crisp footsteps echoed in the hallway of the teaching building, and a figure stopped in front of a door. After knocking on the door with its hand, it waited quietly for a few seconds. Inside the door, there was the sound of paper being torn apart, drawers opening and closing, and the sound of tables and chairs rubbing against the ground. After these sounds had calmed down, a childish sound came from inside the door. Please enter. The figure opened the door and walked in. What caught the eye was an office that was still very clean as a whole, if we had ignored the shredded paper on the desk. Cough cough, what are you doing with me, Captain? The figure that came to the office was naturally the captain. At this moment, Blood Submarine had found an opportunity to take back his clone in exchange for the captain's identity. The captain looked at the white-haired lowly sitting in the office chair in front of him and said, Teresa, I'm here to report to you on the damage caused by the operation in Shanghai City. On the surface, as a junior high school student, Teresa, who was already in her 40s, replied, I understand. Thank you for coming, Captain. Let's start reporting. The captain nodded and began reading the report compiled by Jeezy. What, why didn't you write it yourself? At least Jeezy is also a deputy captain, basically equivalent to the captain's secretary. There is a saying that goes, if there is something to do, the secretary will do it, and if there is nothing to do. Cough, and besides, I am not an unscrupulous boss who oppresses employees. I also paid for Jeezy to buy a few bottles of good wine. This wave is called equal price exchange. In summary, there were no casualties in this operation, only a few female martial gods were seriously injured, but their lives were not endangered yet. The report is over. After reading for a few minutes, I finally finished, feeling a bit dry and speechless. After listening to the report, Teresa pondered for a moment and said, I understand. Can you take me on a trip to the Ministry of Finance to allocate maintenance funds for the department? The captain nodded and agreed, then continued, Teresa, we received an email on the captured warship that said. After listening to the captain's email, Teresa pondered for a moment and muttered, thunder. Storm. Death. Flame. Then she seemed to think of something and said, aren't these the few gems inside the second lawmaker's body in the second collapse? What are those anti-entropy guys really thinking? And she even specifically mentioned Kiana, things are really getting more and more complicated. Teresa leaned against the office chair, rubbed her head and said something uncomfortable. The captain also pondered for a while and said, now the information is insufficient, we have to fight to stop it. Teresa also felt that what she was saying made sense, so she stopped her running brain and said to the captain, there's nothing else, Captain, you can leave first. As the college captain, I've been very busy all day. People who knew about Teresa knew what she was busy with, but the captain didn't say it, otherwise she would have to lie out of this office door today. So she said, "There's nothing left, let's bid farewell first," and prepared to leave the college president's office. As she was about to step out of the gate, Teresa shouted, "I've done a good job on this mission. I'll pay you next month, and I'll keep it up." She paused as she stepped out of the gate, and the captain turned around and smiled. "I understand." She said to herself, "That's what you told me last month." If it weren't for her side job, she would really be poor. She then left the dean's office without hesitation. Walking on the sunny campus road, watching the energetic students running by, the captain's mouth showed a bitter smile. The fake-face knight was not a god, but also had dreams that could not be completed. Although the power of encountering demons can save them, he made an agreement with the imaginary number not to use any power beyond the limit of this world. The power of encountering demons clearly exceeded the limit, so he used his identity as Albert to act outside. Under the shape of a black hole, Albert's strength was just below the end, slightly above Kevin in his normal state. Thinking of Kevin, he also thought of his former civilization companions. Yes, the time he first arrived was after the first collapse of the former civilization. He was a bit fascinated by the past, and the captain directly collided with Blonia, who had just walked out of the medical room from the corner and was preparing to return to the dormitory. Bang, oh my, the collision with Captain Blonia was not a big deal, but Blonia, who was even smaller in stature, fell backwards directly from the collision. The captain, who had regained consciousness from his memories, was about to reach out and pull, but one of his hands moved faster. "Is it okay, Blonia?" And the captain, "Don't walk so close to the wall that it's easy to bump into people." A man reached out to help Blonia and blamed the captain. "Thank you, Dr. Yongmeng." "Blonia is fine," Blonia said in gratitude to the man, who was the precious student Yongmeng from the medical department of St. Freya College, and another vest opened by the captain inside St. Freya College. "Thank you Yongmeng, and I'm also sorry, Blonia. I was too distracted and didn't pay attention to the road under my feet." The captain first expressed gratitude to Baoxing Yongmeng and apologized to Blonia. "It's okay, Captain." Blonia didn't have anything wrong either. Blonia accepted the captain's apology. "Blonia, you're going to play games with Dr. Baoxing Yongmeng again." The captain took the initiative to start the conversation. "Yes, this time the metal cloth Wolf Fong must be on par with the genius player M," Blonia admitted and said with a 3-no expression, but from the look in her eyes, Blonia was full of fighting spirit. "Ha ha ha, alloy cloth wolf teeth, my genius player M won't lose so easily. If you want to win, I'll practice for a few more years," said Baoxing Yongmeng confidently, laughing and rubbing Blonia's head. Blonia patted the hand of Baoxing Yongmeng, causing chaos on her head, and said, "Win or lose, we'll see the truth in our hands later. This time Blonia has developed a new move that will definitely defeat the genius player M." "Okay, then let me crack your new move, right? Let's go, I can't wait anymore." Baoxing Yongmeng was aroused by Blonia's new move and urged Blonia to leave quickly. He couldn't wait anymore. "It's interesting, then let me be the witness of this competition. Do you mind?" The captain heard what they said and became interested, so he wanted to join in. Okay. I don't have any objections." Blonia and Baoxing Yongmeng both nodded in agreement, and the three of them walked towards Jizi's villa, chatting and laughing. "Oh, by the way, has Blonia's physical examination report come out? Have you found the cause of the loss of control at that time?" The captain suddenly remembered Blonia's loss of control on the way and asked with some concern. "I can't be too sure yet, but Blonia's body is normal and there is no problem. The loss of control at that time should have been caused by abnormal collapse or by some virus in the warship program," replied Baoxing Yongmeng with a serious but uncertain tone upon hearing this question. "It can't be a virus." Blonia checked the system of the warship 3 times but couldn't find any virus. Blonia denied one idea of the eternal dream of life. What if it's a virus you haven't seen before? After all, there are always some things in this world that we haven't encountered before, Baoxing Yongmeng proposed his conjecture. According to Blonia's calculations, this possibility is no less than that of a fool Kiana passing all the liberal arts exams, Blonia said expressionlessly, while also persecuting Kiana. Haha, that's just a possibility, even if it's small, we can't ignore it, said Baoxing Yongmeng with a smile. After the heated debate between Baoxing Yongmeng and Blonia, the group also arrived at Blonia's residence. As soon as they opened the door, they saw Jizi sitting on the sofa without any image, watching TV. There were also several bottles of wine on the guest table, 2 of which were already empty. It seemed that she had been lying here for a long time. I didn't see Yai and her companions in the living room. They may still be outside at this time. When I heard the sound of the door opening, Jizi looked up at the door and saw the captain and his group looking at her. Jizi said nonchalantly, "Oh, Dr. Yongmeng, have you come to play games with Blonia again?" "Yeah, but Jizi, you should take good care of your body and restrain yourself from drinking so much beer," said Baoxing Yongmeng with a nod and some blame. "Don't worry, I'm not sure about my body yet, is it okay?" Jizi waved her hand and said nonchalantly. "Hey, I still care a little bit," said Baoxing Yongmeng helplessly. Alright, aren't you still going to play PK games? Let's go, and also take care of your health, Jizi. If you're good, there won't be any harm, the captain smiled and pushed Dui Yongmeng to let them play games first, then advised Jizi. Got it, Jizi replied casually as she lay down again. The 3 of them went upstairs and arrived at Blonia's room. The room was spacious and overall clean, with a bellow placed wherever it could be on the bed, table, or chair. However, there was no change in the face of this person, as it was not their first time here. Blonia walked up to the table, opened one of the drawers, and took out a CD with the words, "Roar and Fight" written on it. Blonia put the CD into the projector and started it, and the game loading interface was mapped to the wall. Blonia turned her head to look at Baoxing Yongmeng and said, "Sa, let's start our war." Baoxing Yongmeng also replied with great momentum, "Sa, let's see my life pass." The 2 of them sat on the spot, picked up the controller, and the game was quickly loaded. The 2 sides selected their characters and the battle was about to erupt. Let me try the knife and pour it out for me. Look at the move, do you still want to defeat me at this level? WC, if you don't talk about martial arts, you will launch a surprise attack. No, Blonia, this is wisdom. I'm not that easy to lose. Up and down, left and right, Alibaba, bet on the reputation of a genius player. Blonia, I'll defeat you. Alloy cloth wolf teeth are invincible. Watching the performance of the 2 people in front of him, the captain's face also showed a faint smile. Happy times are always short-lived, and there is still no winner or draw between the genius player M and the alloy cloth wolf tooth. Because Yai came up to shout for food, the duel can only be put aside for now. The sky is big, the earth is big, the rice is the biggest, the rice is not active, and there is a problem with thinking. After dinner, everyone sat on the sofa chatting about today's interesting events. Suddenly, Baoxing Yongmeng remembered something and said to Blonia, "I asked Mr. Tongxing Zhantu to make some game-style armor before, and we will directly compete offline with real people. Do you dare to accept alloy cloth wolf teeth?" Blonia's eyes lit up and she said, "Alloy cloth wolf teeth won't shrink." Kiana also leaned over and said, "I will play it when it's done well." Baoxing Yongmeng smiled and said, "Yes, the game is about having more people laugh and play together for fun." The captain looked at the time and it was getting late, so he beckoned Baoxing Yongmeng to leave and return to the dormitory. That's right, neither the captain nor Baoxing Yongmeng lived with the Valkyrie. After all, men and women are not compatible, and they don't have the same face. Although if they ask GZ and her for advice, they are likely to agree, they still choose to live with 4 men in the end, and who is the other person? Of course, it is Walter Yang, a history teacher at St. Freya College, and the four of them happen to have a companion. Walking on the road at night, the captain looked at the stars in the sky and smiled without speaking. There will be 7 days ahead, and there may not be any updates. Due to the Qingming festival holiday, the school will have continuous classes and there may be a bit less time for coding. Therefore, it will be updated next week. Oh, by the way, Teacher Jeezy won't die, but for the growth of Kiana, someone will replace Teacher Jeezy's death. Some people should have guessed it already. This book doesn't have any outline, so it can be said that I write whatever comes to mind. If anyone has any suggestions, please leave a comment in the comments section. Thank you. Chapter 5. Pre-assessment of Valkyrie Women. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. On the third day after the end of the Shanghai incident, the assessment of the Valkyrie is also approaching. Everyone is working hard to review and train in order to achieve good results in this assessment. Everything is so beautiful and thriving, and not all of it is so beautiful. Chi. Yeah. Na. A roar sounded like a lion roaring from the east of the river in the sky above the St. Freya school. In the teacher's office, 2 men and a woman were glaring angrily at a white-haired bun. Jeezy took a study transcript on her desk and shouted angrily at Kiana, Chinese is 35 points, Math is 18 points, English is 40 points, Physics is 9 points, History is 11 points, Tactical Analysis is 3 points, and Morality is 58 points. Jeezy's voice seemed to take a step up after reporting a course, which scared Kiana into cold sweat and her legs were trembling uncontrollably. I wanted to escape but couldn't even step out, so I had to look down at the floor as an ostrich. I won't talk about anything else for now, but what's wrong with your morality? Isn't this thing very simple? Just memorize a few sentences casually, and fortunately, most of your multiple-choice questions are correct, otherwise your grades will be even worse. There's also a tactical analysis of what you wrote. What would you do if your team member was corrupted and couldn't be treated in time? You wrote, I won't give up on her. Hey, Kiana, I know you have a simple and kind heart, but if one day you are corrupted and unable to be rescued, I will definitely marry you with my own hands. After speaking, Jeezy also felt a bit tired. She reached out to the table, picked up a kettle, poured water into a teacup, and then drank it all in one gulp, taking a deep breath. Then she turned to the 2 male teachers beside her and said, Teacher Yang, Teacher Tongxing, I have already finished what I want to say. I will leave it to you. The 2 male teachers who were named by Jeezy trembled when they heard Jeezy call them. After all, Jeezy was really scary just now. As the first lawyer, Walter Yang, who came here to recuperate from serious injuries, and on the surface, they were physics teachers and equipment development department directors. The Tongxing battle rabbit was also frightened and had not yet recovered. Teacher Yang took the lead in calming down and said to Kiana, Kiana, after seeing your exam paper, I have decided to provide you with 1.1 specialized tutoring in the next period of time. First, I will greet you in advance and prepare well. Teacher Tongxing also reacted and said, I have the same idea as Teacher Yang. Teacher Yang and I just discussed the specific arrangement of your tutoring time. Specifically, it's like this. Teacher Yang will be in charge of 1, 3, 5, and I will be in charge of 2, 4, and 6. Let's leave one day next Sunday for you to rest well. What do you think? Upon hearing the 1.1 tutoring plans made by the 2 teachers, Kiana was actually very reluctant in her heart. However, as she looked at the 2 smiling teachers in front of her, her refusal was stuck in her throat and she couldn't express it. Tongxing Zhantu looked at Kiana, who wanted to speak but couldn't speak, and nodded with a smile, saying, since Kiana has no objections, let's settle it this way. Let's start from tomorrow, can we, Lao Yang? Walter Yang nodded as a tacit agreement. Seeing that old Yang also agreed, Tongxing Zhantu stood up and said, I still have some things to do before I leave. Goodbye Jeezy, old Yang, and Kiana. After finishing, he left the office. If there's nothing else, then I'll say goodbye first, Teacher Jeezy. Goodbye, Walter Yang Jiantong said to Jeezy before leaving. Well, goodbye to both of you, Jeezy responded and then looked at Kiana, who was looking down in front of her. The Valkyrie exam is coming soon. Take advantage of the help of 2 teachers to improve your humanities skills. Your goal is an S.level Valkyrie, come on, Kiana. Got it, Auntie Jeezy, don't call me Auntie. Kiana was still being lectured by Jeezy in the office, and the first person to leave, Tongxing Zhantu, returned to her house. She opened the door and walked in front of the refrigerator, raised her hand and pressed the screen a few times before taking a few steps back. The refrigerator made a mechanical sound, and then the icebox left its original position, revealing the hidden passage behind. Tongxing Zhantu walked in and turned on the light of the passage, and the refrigerator automatically returned to its original position when Tongxing Zhantu entered. Duh. The crisp footsteps echoed through the passage, and in a few minutes, Tongxing Zhantu walked to the end of the passage. There was a door, and he lifted his hand to open it. A series of precision instruments came into view, indicating that it was a laboratory that Tongxing Zhantu had commissioned Eliza to build. Although he spent most of his time working in the college's own laboratory, he still asked Eliza to build this basement under his house to make some small things. Tongxing Zhantu turned his head to look at the laboratory platform where something that Baoxing Yongmeng had recently asked him to help build was placed. It is a green and pink belt with a pink main body and a pink card belt. Yes, it is a player driver and an extraordinary game card belt. Although enchanting magic can directly create Axiod's belt, after all, the world is different, so Tongxing Zhantu made some small modifications to the belt. Now only the final process is needed. Tongxing Zhantu sat on the chair in front of the workbench, buried his head, and started working. Time passed for an unknown amount of time, and Tongxing Zhantu, who was working in the basement, heard the sound of the doorbell. This was designed so that Tongxing Zhantu could also hear the outside while working. Tongxing Zhantu called out the surveillance and saw Baoxing Yongmeng standing outside his house. He said to the microphone, "The door is not locked, come in by yourself, I am in the laboratory, you know the password." After saying this, he turned off the surveillance. Soon, there was a rapid sound of footsteps in the passage outside the laboratory. The door of the laboratory was opened, and Baoxing Yongmeng leaned out and said to Tongxing Zhantu, "Zhantu, have my equipment ready. I can't wait anymore." Tongxing Zhantu didn't lift his head and said, "You came at the right time, it's almost finished." As he spoke, he kept moving his hands and put on the last part of his belt. Tongxing Zhantu straightened up and stretched lazily, then turned his head and said, "All right, come and experiment." Upon hearing this, Baoxing Yongmeng immediately ran over and picked up the player drive and cassette from the experimental platform, looking happily at the 2 things in his hand. All right, give it a try," Tongxing Zhantu urged Baoxing Yongmeng. Baoxing Yongmeng came to his senses and nodded, "Oh, okay." After finishing speaking, he placed the player drive on his waist, and the player drive instantly popped out with a belt tightly fastened to his waist. Then press the button on the cartridge, Universal Action X, the game begins. Insert the cartridge into the card slot of the player's drive, cartridge, click. Then a pink halo appeared around Baoxing Yongmeng, and some game avatars appeared around Yongmeng, but only one, transformation, was lit up in Universal Action X, play a game, what game? Unknown game, what's your name? The image of Omnipotent Action X turns to Yongmeng's body, zooms in, and then passes through Yongmeng's body. Baoxing Yongmeng disappears in place, replaced by a short, pink-haired, cute-eyed armored man with a game-like blood groove on his chest armor. "I am the Kamen Rider." The final sound effect was over, and Baoxing Yongmeng raised his hand to look at it, then touched his face and exclaimed happily, "Ha ha ha, my genius player M is back again." Then, due to excitement, he jumped up directly, but the basement was relatively short, so Baoxing Yongmeng crashed into the ceiling and couldn't fall down. The voice of Baoxing Yongmeng came from the ceiling, "Can someone save me?" Tongxing Zhantu sighed helplessly, then turned around and ran out, saying, "Wait a moment, I'll go call someone." Then he left. "Go and return quickly." Unfortunately, no one could hear the shout of Baoxing Yongmeng. The author won't be able to code the text again for the next week. I have to submit my phone next week, and after returning it, I still have to go out. Speaking of going out, I actually don't really want to go there. It means a lot to my grandmother, and I'm not sure if she goes alone. We can only go with her. To be honest, I thought the plot of those bloody family TV dramas was all made up, but I found out that I also have such an annoying relative. The key is that he didn't want his grandmother to go yet, but now he invites her back. It's really disgusting. Chapter 6. Destiny. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Baoxing Yongmeng was stuck on the ceiling, and Tongxing Zhantu left the basement to call for someone. He happened to encounter Kiana and his group, who were preparing to go home after class, and invited them to help get Baoxing Yongmeng down. Kiana laughed at Baoxing Yongmeng, who was stuck on the ceiling without hesitation, and the rescued Baoxing Yongmeng, who was being watched by so many people, also said something embarrassed, "I was not careful." This made Blonia's three-nose face smile on the side, let alone the others. Although Yai didn't smile, her trembling shoulders showed how hard it was for her to hold back her smile. "Tired, let's destroy this world as soon as possible." This is the only thought of Baoxing Yongmeng now. After calming down her emotions, Yai asked, "Dr. Yongmeng, what armor are you wearing?" Baoxing Yongmeng snapped out of his somewhat autistic emotions and said, "This was originally a surprise for you. Using game-style armor, you can engage in offline 1.1.1 combat with real people. The armor has a protective mechanism. When the blood tank on the armor's chest drops below a certain value, the armor will automatically disappear, and the player will also be judged as a loser. You can see it as a real-person combat game, but unfortunately, only one has been completed now, and now that you have discovered it, it cannot be considered a surprise." Kiana heard these eyes as if they were glowing and said to Baoxing Yongmeng, "Yongmeng, is this intended for me?" Baoxing Yongmeng nodded and answered, "Of course." Blonia thought for a moment and said, Blonia expressed that she doesn't understand Dr. Everdream's avant-garde aesthetics, and said that if she changed the armor appearance to a roar, Blonia would prefer it. Baoxing Yongmeng said, "You can change the appearance you want yourself. Zhantu should be able to do it." Tongxing Zhantu tilted his eyes and looked at Baoxing Yongmeng, saying, "Remove the word should. I am a genius scientist, so of course, this small request is not a problem. Let me handle it all." Kiana cheered on the spot, while Blonia expressed her gratitude to Tongxing Zhantu. Yai saw that it was getting late and invited everyone home for dinner. At the same time, she also invited Baoxing Yongmeng and Tongxing Zhantu, but they did not refuse. The group happily walked back to Jizi's villa. While everyone in St. Freya Academy was chatting and laughing, there was an undercurrent surging in a place they couldn't see. Destiny Headquarters is one of the two major organizations in the modern civilization's fight against collapse. Under the leadership of Archbishop Otto Apocaris, the Valkyrie has always believed in fighting for all the beauty in the world and fought against collapse. In the eyes of most Valkyrie, Otto Apocaris is synonymous with perfection. What is the perfect Archbishop Otto doing in the eyes of the Valkyrie? Let's turn the camera to the office of the Bishop of Destiny. Otto of TM, can't you afford to play? A male voice said with some anger. Hee, calm down my friend. This is just a game, I'm just using everything I can to achieve victory, said another gentle male voice. The red-haired man threw the game controller in his hand onto the carpet and excitedly said to the blonde man beside him, "So this is the reason why you found out halfway through the game that you couldn't beat me, and then directly banned my account with the permission of the game administrator, giving me a bit of a bishop's aura. Otto's face did not change much in the face of the captain's roar. He casually took a piece of paper from the nearby table and wiped away the saliva that splashed on his face, saying, "Captain, you know me. I can compromise on anything else, but I will never compromise on anything related to Karen." The captain's anger came and went quickly. He reached out and took a bottle of water from the table, took a sip, and said with a somewhat sinister tone, "Hee, I don't know who cried and couldn't see Karen after hearing that she was abducted by a pink fox. It's so pitiful." Otto's smile stiffened, and he finally sighed helplessly, saying, "If Kallian could be happy with Yaya Sakura, I would sincerely bless them. But Kallian has already died, and Otto Apocalypse has also died 500 years ago. Now, I am just a fool trying to revive Kallian. For this, I will do whatever it takes, even if Kallian hates me, as long as she can survive, that is enough." The captain listened quietly to Otto's words, and the atmosphere became peaceful for a while. Finally, the captain broke the silence and looked at Otto, saying, "You are such an hopeless bastard, Otto." Otto chuckled lightly and replied, "Thank you for your praise, Captain. After all, the medicine that could cure me disappeared 500 years ago." The captain averted his gaze and said, "Is everything I need ready?" "Ready." Otto opened the communication and called his secretary Amber. "Amber, bring the Godslayer gun to my office." A crisp female voice immediately replied in the communicator, "Got it, Your Highness." In just a few minutes, the door to the office opened and a woman with white hair, wearing a yellow eyepiece and a nun's uniform walked in with a black suitcase. She placed the suitcase on her desk and opened it in the direction of the captain. A syringe filled with blue liquid appeared in front of the captain. The captain stood up and walked to the table, picked up the syringe from his suitcase, stared at the blue liquid inside for a while, then turned to Otto and said, "Thank you, Otto." Otto smiled and said, "You don't need to thank me, my friend. After all, you and I are allies. A collapse can neutralize the liquid, but I'm a bit curious. Why do you want this thing?" The captain opened his mouth just as he was about to answer. Otto stopped the captain from speaking. "Let me guess, you're trying to use it to save people, right? It's that infinite Tajiko, right?" The captain's silence was considered a tacit agreement. Otto saw the captain's reaction and smiled, saying, "It seems that I guessed right. So let me guess again. If it weren't for you, then my ultimate sacrifice in the experiment would also be her." The captain remained silent, and Otto put away his smile with a hint of sadness, saying, "It seems that my old friend did not act according to my script in the end. However, although there were some changes in the experiment, the final result was successful, right?" The captain nodded, and Otto smiled again. "It seems that my experiment was successful. Is the lawmaker fighting for humanity?" Hee. Otto smiled for a while and put away his smile. "Since you want to save her, then you have other ways to make the lawmaker fight for humanity. Do you need me to stop the experiment?" "No, the experiment is still ongoing," the captain spoke, "but there are some changes that need to be made. You can continue with the experiment according to your script, and leave the rest to me." Otto looked at the captain for a while and said, "Then it's up to you, my friend." The captain didn't respond, just pulled out his smoke gun and left the headquarters of Destiny. Otto watched the captain leave and pondered quietly for a moment, then said to Amber beside him, "Amber, message Rita to come to my office and lie down. I have a task to assign to her." Amber replied, "Yes, Your Highness." Then he turned around and left. After Amber left, there was only Otto left in the office, and he sat quietly on the office chair without anyone knowing what he was thinking. On the other side, the captain returned to his house at St. Freya Academy, lay in bed, looked at the ceiling, and finally sighed, saying, "I can't always protect them. They must grow, I'm sorry." Then he closed his eyes and fell asleep like this. Chapter 6. Beyond the Fan, Graduation Travel, including a bit of spoilers. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Live broadcast room system loading completed. pulling personnel from the collapse world. Kiana has entered the live broadcast room, Yai has entered the live broadcast room, Blonia has entered the live broadcast room, Reverse Entropy has entered the live broadcast room, Shuhua 13 Ingjia has entered the live broadcast room, personnel pull completed. Yai, Blonia, where is this? Kiana looked at the pristine white space around her and asked Yai and Blonia. She had just been walking home with Yai and Blonia when she suddenly arrived at this unfamiliar space. I don't know either, Kiana, Yai said. Stupid Kiana, be careful around, and also be careful with Sister Yai. Blonia, who had been a killer before, reacted first and looked around at strangers appearing with white light, posing in a combat posture. Kiana, Yai, Blonia, came a familiar voice, and the three little ones only looked in the direction of the sound. It was Jizi, Teresa, and the captain, Baoxing Yongmeng, Tongxing Zhantu, and Walter Yang running towards them. Auntie Jizi, Captain, Dr. Yongmeng, Teacher Tongxing, and Teacher Yang, you have also come in. Kiana became excited when she saw her acquaintance and ran towards the captain, followed closely by Yai and Blonia. After everyone gathered, Kiana asked Tongxing Zhantu, Teacher Tongxing, do you know where this is? Tongxing Zhantu pondered for a moment and answered, this should be an independent space, and I don't know exactly where it is. Hi, did Teresa miss her grandfather? Another voice came, and everyone looked over. There were two women behind a blonde man, one dressed in maid attire, and the other also had blonde hair. Judging from her temperament, she was a soldier. Bishop Otto, Teresa had not responded yet. Jizi was the first to recognize who it was and salute Otto. Otto waved his hand to let Jizi not salute. Grandpa, why are you here too? Teresa said in surprise, hee, of course I'm here to accompany little Teresa, Grandpa, Otto said with a smile. Blonia, who is this man? Kiana looked at Otto with some confusion and whispered to Blonia beside her. Stupid Kiana, that's Archbishop Otto Apocaris, the head of Valkyrie. Beside her are the strongest Valkyrie, Bianca Adagina, and Vice Captain Rita of the Blade of Immortality. As we talked about in class, you fell asleep again in class, Blonia said to Kiana with some disdain. Ahahaha, there's no way anyone can make the teacher's words in class more powerful than a lullaby, Kiana said awkwardly. On the other side, Chicken Coop Head, what's going on here? A woman with a lobster-like hairstyle asked the blue-haired woman next to her. Dr. Tesla, it is obvious that we have been pulled into a separate space, but the purpose of bringing us here is still unknown, Einstein replied, and then the conversation changed. Be careful not to be alone, as Fate's group is also here. Humph, I got it. Honest people and Siegfried are still here. If we can't fight, we can run, Tesla replied, pointing to the man next to him. Ice Room Fantasy nodded honestly, and Siegfried didn't speak but looked towards Kiana, but Kiana didn't notice Siegfried. Don't take it lightly, Cocolia is also careful here, Einstein said. Got it, Tesla replied impatiently. Yo, you're here too, Cocolia, said Monkey crossing the sea to Cocolia. Ihai, you also came in. How was the task completed? Cocolia was a bit surprised at first, and then began to inquire about the progress of the monkey crossing Ihai's task. Don't worry, that big guy will be fine soon, Yudu Ihai replied with a smile. Cocolia nodded and stopped speaking. On the other side, oh, an interesting method can actually pull us here from the paradise, said a green-haired lowly, who sounded like a villain, observing the surroundings. Hi, Mabius, long time no see, have you missed me? A lively-looking pink-haired girl greeted Mabius. Oh, Alicia, we just met yesterday, not long ago. Don't be so close to me, said Mabius, distancing himself from Alicia with some disdain. Don't be so shy, Mabius. Pretty girl stickers are so civilized, said Alicia, ignoring Mabius' resistance and holding her in her arms, pressing her face into her own mountain peak. Alicia. Mabius shouted vaguely. The other Ingjie was just watching from the sidelines. What? You said Jiagu. Just as he was about to get angry, he was controlled by Aponia. Long time no see, Kevin, Sue said to Kevin. Long time no see, Sue. Both sides fell silent. Welcome to the live broadcast room, where your future will be broadcasted in various forms. Oh. The future. Otto was lost in thought upon hearing this. I don't know if there's any other way to save Callie in here. The future. Are you sure you didn't deceive us, Dr. Tesla said suspiciously. Joa 13 Ingia didn't finish speaking, except for Mebius and Alicia who were getting intimate. The statements made in this system are true and there is no trace of lies. Alright, please prepare for the upcoming broadcast of Graduation Travel, Play Start. When a story comes to an end, we always remember what it looked like at the beginning. Kiana's voice echoed along with the noisy train sound. It's like everything is back to the past. The scene shows Kiana's full face at this moment. Dressed in gorgeous clothes and with a mature expression on her face. Is this Kiana? Yai was very surprised as she watched Kiana in the video. She was surprised because she knew Kiana well, but then she felt heartbroken. What has made Kiana mature like that, and what is her future like? I didn't expect stupid Kiana to become so mature one day, Blonia said with a hint of surprise in her tone. Humph, Blonia, envy me, this is the future of me. Kiana felt proud when she saw Blonia's accident. The screen continues to play, and the scene outside the train has changed. You can see through the window that there is a magnificent tree outside. Before the audience in the live broadcast could even sigh, a familiar voice came from the screen. Just like now, right? A glass of red wine appeared on the screen, and the camera turned to Otto sitting on the train seat, holding the glass and smiling at Kiana. You don't seem surprised. Otto turned his head and looked at the outside of the train, showing a hint of nostalgia. Isn't this scenery very nostalgic? Grandpa. Teresa looked at the figure appearing on the screen, somewhat surprised that Kiana had a relationship with Otto. She turned her head to look at Otto, who was holding her, but Otto just smiled and didn't speak. The scenery outside the train once again changed to a gloomy purple hue, and Kiana's clothes also changed to a white armor with a cloak behind her. Wow, I'm so handsome, Kiana stared at herself on the screen with sparkling eyes. A doll appeared in the carriage, fiddling with her body. Don't be too sentimental, she's different from us. She still needs to keep moving forward. She flashed up to Kiana and greeted her with a smile. Ha ha ha, how are you doing? Are you surprised to see me? However, the doll said with some confusion, is there still one less guy? As soon as the voice of the Z doll finished speaking, the surrounding scenery changed again, and the color tone changed to turquoise. A strange big eye appeared on the screen above Kiana's head, the invader of erosion. Alicia was a bit surprised, then looked at Kiana on the other side and whispered, will she be the person we've been waiting for? The doll's tone became somewhat cheerful. Now everyone is here. Ha ha ha. Otto suddenly laughed, with a hint of relief in his tone that didn't leave a trace of nostalgia. But unfortunately, our story has come to an end. Otto shook his red wine glass. So let the people from the past stay until the past. After speaking, Otto's figure disappeared. Grandpa. Teresa felt an indescribable sadness as she watched Otto disappear. Hee, Grandpa Teresa has been here all along. Otto continued to coax the child with a smile, indifferent to his disappearance. The doll turned to look at Kiana and waved her hand, saying goodbye then and then disappeared. The big eyes on the screen rolled over and disappeared. Kiana's clothes changed once again, becoming a formal dress. She walked into the stairwell and placed her hand on the glass, whispering, aren't you saying something? The hand on the other side of the glass reflection felt a bit embarrassed and put it down again. Kiana in the mirror opened her golden eyes, which were different from Kiana outside the mirror. With no expression on her face, she said, well done. What's the situation? Kiana looked at herself on the screen, and the CPU had already started burning. Grandpa, what did you do? Teresa looked at Otto, who was holding her, and asked. Otto still smiled but didn't speak. Kiana put down her hand, and the surrounding scenery began to turn into feathers and disappear. After the elevator disappeared, Kiana appeared above the city, closing her eyes and falling. At this moment, Thunderbolt Yai appeared above Kiana wearing assault armor. Kiana reached out her hand, and Kiana also opened her eyes and reached out to grab Thunderbolt Yai. However, as their hands were getting close to each other and they were about to catch each other, Yai missed it and did not grab Kiana's hand. In Thunderbolt Yai's frightened and self-blaming eyes, Kiana fell into a dark space. Kiana. Yai outside the screen saw herself not grabbing Kiana's hand and exclaimed Kiana's name in a daze. Yai, it's okay, I'm still here. Kiana quickly hugged Yai and comforted her. Sorry, Kiana, I didn't catch you, Yai said with some self-blame. Don't worry, Yai, I'm sure there won't be anything wrong with Miss Chi-Yana, she said confidently. The scene continues, as Kiana continues to fall with her eyes closed in the dark space. However, during the descent, one hand grabs Kiana's arm and pulls her up. Kiana opens her eyes and looks at the boy in front of her with a sad and slightly happy expression, whispering his name, Lien. Who is this boy? I was thinking of Yai coming to hold me, Kiana said with some regret. The boy looked at Kiana in front of him and smiled. Long time no see, Kiana sister. Sister. Kiana was a little surprised. Did Dad have an affair outside? Siegfried, he dares to betray Cecilia. Deliza also thought that Siegfried had an affair, and now she is thinking about how to punish him when she encounters him in the future. At this moment, Siegfried, who had hidden himself in the anti-entropy crowd, was really mute-eating Huanglian, unable to express his suffering, so he continued to hide. Kiana stared at the boy in front of her and said with a choked voice, Lien, are you doing well over there? Lien continued to smile gently and said, Kiana sister, I'm doing well. I've never regretted my choice. Why show such a sad expression? Kiana's sister needs to smile more to look good, smelu, smelu. She also used her fingers to draw a smile on her face. Kiana looked at him quietly and also showed a hint of a smile. Lien looked at Kiana and said, thanks to Kiana's sister, I understand the meaning of life, so. Kiana's sister. Please continue to move towards your light, said Lien. Her body began to emit blue dots, and Kiana's body began to rise. Watching Kiana's figure rise, Lien shouted loudly with all her might, the time I spent living with Kiana's sister was the happiest moment of my life, and I will keep watching you. Goodbye, Kiana's sister. Finally, Lien's body turned into blue dots and a tear streamed down the corner of Kiana's eye. Lien. Kiana looked at the boy on the screen and felt a sense of sadness in her heart. She turned to Teresa and said solemnly, Auntie, can you please find Lien after you go out? He calls me sister, and then I will take on the responsibility of being a sister. Don't worry, Kiana. Although I don't know where Siegfried brought me such a big nephew, I know he is innocent. The culprit has always been Siegfried, and I will do my best to find mercy after going out. Teresa replied solemnly, adding a stroke of revenge to Siegfried's notebook in her heart. After the disappearance of Lien, the light dots did not disappear but rushed towards Kiana's side, supporting her body to accelerate upward. The light dots were not dazzling, but they were so eye-catching in the dark space. The light dots formed an upward path, pointing Kiana in the direction, is the meaning of life. Mebius muttered to himself as he looked at the screen. Isn't it beautiful? Unfortunately, there's no camera, otherwise we could still record it. Alicia sighed as she looked at the spot of light that had been transformed by pity. The light carried Kiana up and flew to a certain height. The light instantly exploded, and the darkness also disappeared. The light appeared again, and without the light, Kiana began to fall again. The thunderbolt sprout appeared again in the shape of the thunderbolt law. This time, she successfully caught Kiana and pulled her up, this kind of Yai. Hee hee. Kiana looked at the two corners on Yai's head on the screen and wanted to touch them. She turned her head and hugged Yai, saying, "If Yai becomes like this in the future, you must let me touch your corner first." "Kiana, there's someone else here," Yai blushed and gently tugged at Kiana on her body. He, Kiana just kept giggling foolishly. Kiana in the Sky Ranger armor looks at the outside scenery on the roof and sighs, "It's the same as before." The bud coat gently, "A lot of things have happened," Kiana said. A lot of things have happened," Yai replied in a composite tone. "Do we also need to separate here this time?" Kiana turned to look at Yai. "No, this time we will go to the end together." Yai looked at Kiana gently, and Kiana's face blushed a bit before pulling Yai towards the gate of the rooftop. "Ah! Yai will be with me, I have no regrets in this life," Kiana exclaimed excitedly. "Kiana." Yai was so shy that she was about to faint. "Idiot Kiana always likes to take things out of context," Blonia said with some relish. Chi. Thunderbolt Dragon Horse. Kiana opened the door and a strong light flashed through. After the light disappeared, a piece of ruins appeared. Occasionally, a few small animals flashed through it. Kiana and Yai, dressed in the uniforms of Qianyu Academy, walked through the ruins. Kiana held up a phone to take photos of Yai. "Yeah, we've been to various places and left behind many precious memories," Kiana's voice echoed from the screen. As the screen turns, the raven under the eaves is pondering something, unconsciously revealing a smile. On the top of the building, Blood quietly looked at Kiana and Yai below, and finally said to himself, "Ciao," before disappearing. This is a story about love. In the picture, Li Susheng is holding a delicious food and passing by with a steamed bun in her hand. Behind her, Kiana and Yai are walking on the sidewalk in their usual clothes. They walk down the stairs, while Bianca and Rita are gently touching a kitten. It will also have a loving ending. The scene turns to the seaside again. Rosalia is chasing and playing with Lilia at sea, while Sierra and Blonia are chatting under the sun umbrella. They see Kiana and Yai coming over and saying a word to Sierra before running over. "Sierra," Blonia murmured to herself. "Blonia sister." Sierra looked at the screen and said, "Sierra will always wait for Blonia sister to come and save Sierra." So, just like before, step by step, keep moving forward. The scene arrives at Yaya village, where Blonia runs between Kiana and Yai. In the distance, under the cherry blossom tree, Yaya Sakura is eating desserts with Kallian. Otto looked at the figure on the screen with fascination. "Look at it." Zigfai and Cecilia happened to meet Kiana and her group while shopping with Shilin in the mall. "Our footprints." Joyce handed coffee to Einstein, while Young sat across from Tesla with his eyes fixed on Sehro Dinger and Plank on the street. Tongxing Zhantu was rejecting the coffee offered by an uncle. At any time, on the mountainside, Blonia and Kiana looked at the map. Yai turned her head and saw the Yingjia tour group going up the mountain. Alicia also turned around and looked at each other, as if she had said everything, but also as if she had not said anything. I don't know why Kiana felt that this woman was a bit dangerous, so she tightly hugged Yai and refused to let go. Alicia looked at Yai with a smile and remained silent. "It's right here." Under the sunset at dusk, the three of them walked shoulder to shoulder as Kevin and May passed by. "May," Kevin whispered. Sue watched Kevin and sighed. At the station, Teresa had just taken a photo for the three of them. From afar, Yuzuru Ichikawa knelt on one knee and handed her flowers, making Teresa feel a bit shy. However, this shyness didn't last long. With a heavy punch, Yuzuru Ichikawa knocked Yuzuru Ichikawa down and dragged him away. Yuzuru Ichikawa, who had been taken off, even shouted, "Long live the magical girl! Long live Teresa," which made everyone laugh. The real name of the magical girl is Teresa. "I am your loyal fan," said Monkey Crossing in surprise. Cocolia instantly realized and said, "You guy, calm down a bit. And Otto is now thinking about how to kill the ape and cross the sea. If he wants to marry Teresa, he must first ask me, the grandfather, if he agrees. GZ and Fu Hua also arrived at the station, and everyone was talking and laughing. No one noticed that Chi Yana took advantage of everyone's lack of attention and boarded the train that had just entered the station. Kiana's attire turned into the white night moonlight, and she remained silent for a moment before taking steps into the open carriage. Kiana, a call came from behind. Kiana opened her eyes in surprise and suddenly turned around. Music also began to play at this moment. When former close friends leave, the scene turns into St. Freya Academy, with Kiana wearing her usual attire. In front of her are Teresa, teacher Jizi, Yai, Blonia, teacher Tongsheng, and the captain, all looking at her tenderly. Do you expect them to remember your name? A hand patted Kiana's shoulder from behind. Kiana turned her head and saw Baoxing Yongmeng standing behind her. He gently said, Kiana, you have successfully rewritten your own destiny. I am proud of you. When the beautiful old days fade away, Kiana wanted to say something, but in the end she didn't say it. She smiled and closed her eyes. When she opened them again, Kiana returned to the carriage. Is your heart still as it was before? The train shuttled through the starry sky, heading towards the cocoon of the end. The cocoon flickered briefly before turning into a tunnel. We cannot stop time. The train's direction turned into silk thread decomposition, and Kiana put on white training armor and jumped off the train. You can only leave the ruts behind. Kiana entered the cocoon of the end with a smile on her face. After all, the road ahead is longer. On a snowy plain, Zaya Kiana is walking forward with a bow on her back. There used to be a storyteller. Xiao Kiana accidentally fell while walking, and her backpack was also thrown out behind her, depicting sunshine and rain. Zaya Kiana tried to get up but was unsuccessful, and one day people will grow up with both hands supporting her and wiping away the snow from her head. Zaya Kiana looked up and saw that the captain was helping her spend a lifetime experiencing love and pain. The captain nodded at her and released her hands, and Zaya Kiana also nodded and picked up her backpack again. We cannot stop time. Zaya Kiana continues to move forward. You can only leave the ruts behind. Seeing Zaya Kiana continue to move forward, the captain also turned around and headed in the opposite direction. After all, the road ahead is longer. When the captain took a step, Otto and Kevin's figures also appeared next to him, and little Kiana turned into big Kiana. On the left was the 13 heroes of fire chasing led by Yi, and on the right was Saint Freya and Destiny, led by Blonia. Reverse entropy. How come there are two Kevin bosses? Pato said with some confusion. It seems that I chose her in the past. Kevin thought for a moment and understood. Unfortunately, I can only move forward now. If it's difficult to say goodbye, both sides silently move forward, and the music suddenly stops. The captain stopped and whispered, it feels like something's missing. Otto turned to look at him. So, my friend, what do you think is missing? Kevin also cast a puzzled look. The captain seemed to have thought of something and shouted to Kiana, Kiana. Let's do that one last time. Kiana, who was moving forward, stopped and turned to look at the captain's words with some confusion, but suddenly realized it. She smiled, pointed one hand forward, closed her right eye, tilted her head slightly to the right, and shouted, Kiana. Attack. The music rang out again. The captain showed a satisfied smile and turned his head to continue moving forward, while Kiana also led the others forward. Let's try singing it out then. You are all the beauty in the world, shining forever. Someone has left, but those who remain will continue to move forward. End of playback. Thank you for watching. Tired, too tired, my hands are sore. This is the mode I was originally planning to write, but I didn't feel good about it while writing. However, it's a pity to just throw it away, so I tried to write it out. Whether it will be updated during the May Day holiday depends on the situation. However, I still have to go far and may not have enough time to update, so please wait for next week. Chapter 7. Morning Exercise. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Just as the sky had started to brighten, the voices of students practicing in the St. Freya Academy rang out. In a few days, the Valkyrie of the Academy was being assessed, and everyone was working hard to train themselves, hoping to achieve good results. So. Class monitor. Is that you? The reason you called us up so early? Kiana gasped and asked Fu Hua, with Yai and Blonia also called up to practice early next to her. Not only that, but also Teacher Jizi said that you have been taken by Teacher Tongsheng and Teacher Yang to make up for classes recently, but your grades in humanities have improved, but the improvement is not high, and you can only hover around the passing line. Moreover, you have been eating, playing games, and sleeping since you finished making up for classes recently. Teacher Jizi is worried that your physical fitness will decline, so she asked me to train you, Fu Hua said solemnly. So. Why were we also brought here? Yai asked in confusion. She and Blonia didn't lack exercise due to extra classes, so why did they also come here? Teacher Jizi said that practicing 1 is practicing 3 is still practicing, so she asked me to call you 2 up and practice early, Fu Hua replied. Blonia opened her mouth and wanted to say something, but in the end she closed her mouth. She was tired and didn't want to speak. Hey. Alright, it's enough to rest for a while. Move, don't stop, Fu Hua urged Kiana and the others to stand up and continue exercising. Ah, class monitor, are you a devil? In Kiana's tragic shout, Fu Hua forcefully pulled the other person as if he hadn't heard her. Kiana gave up her life and ran weakly. Before she could even take a few steps, Kiana's originally silent eyes suddenly lit up as she saw a savior. She happened to pass by nearby Baoxing Yongmeng, and Kiana's body, which was on the brink of collapse, suddenly burst into a powerful force. She broke free from Fu Hua's palm and rushed towards Baoxing Yongmeng at an extremely fast speed, shouting, Dr. Yongmeng, help. Baoxing Yongmeng was originally just waking up normally. After cleaning up, he went out for a morning run when suddenly he heard a familiar voice. Yongmeng doctor, help. Baoxing Yongmeng was startled, then looked towards the direction of the sound with doubts in his heart and the responsibility of a doctor. A white figure immediately ran behind him, followed by a figure with grey hair and blue clothes. Upon closer inspection, it was Fu Hua, and the figure just now should be Kiana. Baoxing Yongmeng thought to himself, after all, there were not many people in the school with white hair and good relationships with Fu Hua. Yongmeng, please save me. Last night I had a nightmare, and this morning I was forcibly pulled out of bed by Captain Fu Hua to exercise until now. It's so scary, it really will kill me. Kiana, who ran behind Baoxing Yongmeng, hurriedly begged for help and told the story behind it. At this moment, Fu Hua, along with Yai and Blonia, ran over and said to Baoxing Yongmeng, I'm sorry, Dr. Yongmeng. It was Teacher Jizi who asked me to give Kiana special training. I've caused you trouble. No trouble, Baoxing Yongmeng quickly waved his hand and said, however, Kiana and the others have been running for a long time, and it's not good to keep doing this. How about I give you a massage to relax and just take a break? Okay, Kiana nodded directly when she heard that she could rest. Fu Hua pondered for a while before finally deciding to listen to Baoxing Yongmeng's opinion. A few people quickly arrived at Baoxing Yongmeng's house, poured a few glasses of water for Kiana and the others, and prepared for a massage. First, they took out an air cushion that seemed to have not been fully inflated from their own room and placed it in the living room. Then, they pressed the button on the air cushion, and the cushion instantly expanded. Then, they explained to everyone, this is made by Tongxing Zhantu, which has the effect of assisting massage. So, which of you came first? It was agreed in advance that I haven't been massaging for a long time, and my hands are getting tired. Don't blame me. Kiana was the first to lie on the cushion and say, let me go. I haven't experienced the massage yet. Baoxing Yongmeng chuckled and said, after running for so long, I'm here today to relax your legs. After that, he pressed his hands onto Kiana's legs. Baoxing Yongmeng put away his smile and earnestly massaged the acupoints on his legs. Fu Hua also watched carefully from the side. From Baoxing Yongmeng's techniques, it can be seen that he did have some massage experience, but some were unfamiliar. Dr. Yongmeng, you should press this side, yes, that's it, and then apply a little more force, yes, that's it. Fu Hua corrected Baoxing Yongmeng's mistake on the side, and Baoxing Yongmeng continued to massage under Fu Hua's command. Kiana felt a constant sensation coming from her legs. Except for a slight pain at the beginning, she gradually became comfortable and let out a comfortable moan, causing Yai, who was watching on the side, to blush a bit. Blonia's face also showed some discomfort. Baoxing Yongmeng also blushed a bit, but under the guidance of Fu Hua, he massaged Kiana for 15 minutes. Baoxing Yongmeng helped Kiana up. Kiana tried to walk and found that her legs were not as sore as before. "Thank you, Dr. Yongmeng," she said, "You don't need to thank me. I also want to thank you. I don't mind if my skills are unfamiliar. So, who will come first next?" Baoxing Yongmeng smiled and asked Xiang Yai and the others. "I don't need it, you guys go ahead," Fu Hua replied. Yai shyly said, "So, I'll come first, and then lay down on the cushion." Amidst Yai's 15-minute long, flushed moans, Baoxing Yongmeng finished this massage and looked at Blonia, saying, "Blonia, are you coming?" "No, Blonia's leg has been injured before, so I won't trouble Dr. Everdream," Blonia said in a tone of 3 knots, with a slight blush on her face. "You have been using support armor to assist your movements, and your legs have not moved for a long time, making it easy for your muscles to deteriorate. Let me help you massage it," suggested Baoxing Yongmeng. Yes, Blonia. You've always been a heavy bunny assisting you in your movements. I've never seen you walk on your feet a few times, so let Dr. Yongmeng massage you." Kiana coaxed on the side, wanting Blonia to accept the advice of Baoxing Yongmeng. She didn't admit that she wanted to see Blonia blush. After thinking for a moment, Blonia finally lay on the cushion and said, "Then please, Dr. Everdream." "Don't worry, I'll guarantee my own medical ethics," Baoxing Yongmeng patted his chest and said confidently. With the gradually becoming proficient technique of Baoxing Yongmeng, Blonia finally couldn't bear the cry and her face turned red. Blonia, I've always wanted to see your expression." Kiana leaned over to Blonia's face, looking particularly happy as she blushed. Blonia also showed a gnashing expression. Finally, after the longest 15 minutes of Blonia's life, Baoxing Yongmeng finished this massage. Blonia sat up and tried to walk on the ground a few times. Perhaps she was not used to walking, and her foot stumbled and almost fell. Fortunately, Baoxing Yongmeng's eye disease quickly caught her. "Thank you, Dr. Yongmeng, for his warm hospitality and rest. It's time for me to continue training with them." Fu Hua felt that time was running out and said goodbye to Baoxing Yongmeng. Then, amidst Kiana's lament, he was forcibly taken away. Before leaving, Yai thanked Baoxing Yongmeng again. Baoxing Yongmeng stood at the door, watching them go far away. After they left, Baoxing Yongmeng gazed at their backs and said, "This peaceful life is coming to an end, girls. Dreams will one day wake up." Then he closed the door. Chapter 8. Nightmares. You are listening at novelfull.audio. I'm exhausted. After a day of training, Kiana returned home and immediately threw herself onto the sofa without moving. Lying on the sofa right after training is not good for your body, Kiana, GZ said to Kiana, who was lying on the single sofa beside her, holding a bottle of canned beer in her hand. "Please spare me, Teacher GZ," Kiana replied weakly as she collapsed on the sofa. "Alright, Teacher GZ, please don't tease Kiana." Ye also entered the door and smiled helplessly at the conversation between the teacher and student. "I'll go prepare dinner first," and then walked into the kitchen. Blonia just nodded at Jeezy, who was looking at the door when she entered, and then went upstairs to her room, not knowing what she was doing. For a moment, only the sound of Yai cooking and Jeezy drinking from the kitchen remained in the entire house. After an unknown amount of time, the door of the house was once again opened. "Jeezy, we're here to grab some food." The captain's voice came in, and this voice instantly woke up Kiana, who was about to fall asleep. She got up helplessly and looked at the newcomers with a resentful gaze. Jeezy looked at the captain and Baoxing Yongmeng standing at the entrance and smiled. "Welcome, you've been coming to grab some food a bit frequently lately." "Oh, there's nothing I can do. As soon as Teresa comes back, I'll leave all the things she has accumulated to me. You used to at least come to help, but now I haven't even seen you, so it's okay for me to come to you for a meal." "Don't worry, we'll bring our own food," the captain said with a hint of resentment, but it disappeared after a while and continued to smile, "and the food made by Yai is really unforgettable. After eating it once, I still want to eat it again." Jeezy awkwardly smiled and stopped speaking. Yai walked out of the kitchen and heard the conversation just now. She chuckled lightly and said, "The captain and Dr. Yongmeng, come to the kitchen to help me. If you want to eat, you need to do something." Upon hearing this, the captain and Baoxing Yongmeng quickly nodded and walked into the kitchen to help. Yai looked at Kiana sitting up from the sofa and said, "Kiana, you go call Blonia. The food is almost ready to wash your hands and eat." Upon hearing that Kiana had eaten a meal, her resentment disappeared instantly. She ran upstairs and knocked on Blonia's door, calling her out to eat. Then, she cleaned her palms in the bathroom and waited at the table. Jeezy also sat slowly at the table, and soon Blonia also walked down to the table. As soon as all the talented people arrived, the captain and Baoxing Yongmeng came out with vegetables. Fried chicken, pickled Chinese cabbage fish, beef slices, fried vegetables, scrambled eggs and other dishes were served on the table. The attractive taste made Kiana's mouth shed tears of frustration. She picked up her chopsticks to eat a piece of fried chicken, but Jeezy quickly stopped her and said, "People haven't arrived yet. You can't use chopsticks first." After hearing this, Kiana lay down on the table feeling a bit dejected, looking at the delicious food in front of her, but couldn't eat it. For her, it was truly the cruelest torture. Fortunately, this torture did not last long. Yai, the captain, and Baoxing Yongmeng also took their seats one by one, and Jeezy put down her hand that was blocking Kiana. Kiana suddenly exclaimed excitedly, "Finally, we can eat. I'm almost starving." The chopsticks in her hand were almost waving, and her mouth was full. Yai stood up and poured a glass of water for Kiana, saying, slow down, don't choke. There are still a lot of dishes, no one will compete with you." The other few people on the dining table only smiled at each other when they saw this scene, and then joined the fight for food. After a gust of wind and clouds, the dishes on the dining table were all cleaned up. Kiana leaned back on her seat with satisfaction and touched her stomach, which was full of food. "Ah, I have come back to life with blood. I've been trained by the class monitor all day today and I'm really tired. I really want to be lazy tomorrow." After hearing Kiana's words, the captain smiled and said, "Aren't you dreaming of becoming an S.Class Valkyrie? What's wrong? You're giving up." Upon hearing this, Kiana immediately retorted, "I don't have it, I just want to balance work and rest." The captain continued, "Once an old man said, if you dream of becoming a phoenix, don't give up. Perhaps you are already a phoenix." As he spoke, the captain also put on a one-handed pointing gesture. Everyone felt that there seemed to be a high beam behind the captain, which made them dare not look directly at him. Cough cough, "Okay, Yongmeng, put away the high beam." The captain put down his raised arm and awkwardly said to Baoxing Yongmeng. I don't know why every time he uses the sentence structure of, what someone once said, there is always an impulse to point to the sky with one hand. Baoxing Yongmeng turned off the high beam, and Kiana roast, "Where does such a big high beam come from?" I haven't seen it before. Baoxing Yongmeng replied, it was made by Tongxing Zhanta before, and I will take it out and use it. After explaining, he pressed a button on the high beam light with his hand, and the high beam light suddenly underwent a transformation, eventually turning into a disc the size of a palm. After showing it to everyone, he took it back into his pocket. How many gadgets did Mr. Tongxing make? Kiana roast. Perhaps he himself doesn't know, Baoxing Yongmeng replied with a smile. Everyone chatted about the interesting events of the day together. In the middle, the captain took on the responsibility of washing dishes. Yai felt that there were too many dishes and wanted to help, but was politely refused by the captain. Alright, that's it for today. We should go back now. Thank you for entertaining us. See you all tomorrow. The captain, who felt that the time was similar, prepared to go back with his son, Yongmeng. See you tomorrow, be careful on the way, Yai and the other women bid farewell to the captain and the others. The captain closed the door with a smile and left with Baoxing Yongmeng. As soon as the door was closed, the captain, who had originally had a smile on his face, instantly put away his smile. Baoxing Yongmeng also asked with a serious expression, did you feel it? She has already woken up. The captain nodded and said, I'll go see Kiana tonight, and walked outside. Baoxing Yongmeng also followed closely behind. After bidding farewell to the captain, Kiana also felt drowsy, so she said goodbye to everyone and went back to her room to wash and sleep. Ah, I hope to have a delicious dream today, Kiana thought before falling asleep. However, the things presented in dreams are not always beautiful. In her dream, Kiana opened her eyes and looked around. She found herself lying on the square of St. Freya College at some point, with a vast and magnificent campus shrouded in darkness. The familiar scenes before her were eerie everywhere, and no familiar figure could be seen around her. Is this still St. Freya Academy? Kiana said with some uncertainty. Welcome home, lost little girl. A piercing female voice came, making Kiana feel unfamiliar but also familiar. Who is there? Kiana looked around cautiously, but unfortunately, she still didn't see a single figure. Oh, I've been sleeping for too long, but the gears of fate are starting to turn again. When I fully wake up, the whole world will change, the voice rang out once again. Hey! What are you talking about? Hurry up and come out for me. I'm a Valkyrie and I'm not afraid of you at all, Kiana shouted around. Valkyrie. Ha 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 ha. The piercing female voice rang out again, you know nothing about the evil obstacles you bear. Damn it. What the hell are you? Kiana shouted angrily into the air. Aren't you curious? The truth behind why you were born without a mother and your father leaving you. What are the true faces of those people around you? Don't you want to know? The female voice raised Kiana's doubts. What exactly do you know? Kiana asked in a questioning tone. Oh. Do you want to know the answer? Let's prove yourself. At the end of the voice, some shattered beasts and death attendants suddenly appeared around, mostly lower-level beings. Kiana wanted to fight together, and her original sleeping clothes turned into Valkyrie armor. Kiana didn't think about it, picked up her 2 guns and went ahead. Don't underestimate me, Mississippi. Kiana solved these miscellaneous fish 3 times, dividing them by 5 and 2, and said to the surroundings, can you tell me now? Not far away, a black figure appeared somewhere, and Kiana couldn't see the person's face clearly. Her voice rang out again, hee hee, it's good, where should we start? In the second collapse in 2000, the second lawn was born. Humans made tremendous efforts and sacrifices, but they were unable to defeat it. The weak power of humans was not worth mentioning in the face of the collapse, so Cecilia Shaniat can only have one precious weapon, which was consumed to deal with the second lawn. Consumption. What do you mean, what's wrong with my mother? Kiana questioned the figure. Hee hee, who knows? The figure turned around and left, and Kiana immediately chased after her. During this time, she also knocked down many shattered beasts and death attendants. Hee, congratulations on catching up with me, the voice rang out again, but what appeared before her was a figure that Kiana was extremely familiar with. Thunderbolt Yai. Yai. Kiana was a bit surprised, and this appearance was exactly that of her friend Thunderbolt Yai. No, you're not Yai. Kiana immediately realized the difference between the two, quickly retreated and put on a combat posture. Who the hell are you? Why do you have to look like Yai? Kiana became angry. Who am I? I am your past nightmare, your momentary darkness, and an existence that you will never be able to shake off. Talking too much is useless, and the two immediately engaged in battle. Kiana, I've been enduring you all along. You're a burden in the team. No, Yai wouldn't say such things. After knocking down the fake Yai, the figure transformed into the appearance of other familiar people, including Jizi, Teresa, the captain, Baoxing Yongmeng, Blonia. After knocking down all these dummies, Kiana shouted around, if you have any more moves, just use them. Oh. Really? The figure reappeared, and she had almost the same face as Kiana, except that one eye was blue, the other was gold, the other was dressed in the armor of the warrior goddess, and the other was dressed like a dress. Oh, no matter what you look like, I will defeat you, Kiana said directly, getting up and kicking her in the face. However, just as she was about to touch it, the figure disappeared in an instant. Damn it, where are people? Kiana fell to the ground and looked around cautiously. The familiar voice of, I'm here, came from behind, and Kiana lifted her hand and punched her, but it still fell through. The sound of really useless, came from behind again, and Kiana turned her head to look, slapping her in the face and flying her away. Kiana quickly got up from the ground. As soon as she got up, the fake guy in front of her lifted her head and slapped her again. Kiana was once again knocked away, which was much heavier than the previous blow. Kiana rolled on the ground a few times before stopping. Kiana struggled to get up again, but was still knocked out by a palm blow. This was repeated several times, but Kiana could not attack the opponent, who could still hit her every time. Oh, really weak, said the imposter. Damn, Kiana is now covered in bruises and can't even climb up. If I had known you were so weak, I wouldn't have told you so much nonsense. The imposter walked towards Kiana step by step. Let me end your pain. The imposter raised his hand and summoned a spear to prepare to end Kiana. Kiana wanted to resist, but her body did not allow it. Just as she was about to give up, a familiar voice sounded, don't just give up, Kiana. Several light bullets hit, and the imposter had to stop attacking and flash away. The counterfeit looked towards the direction of the attack and angrily asked, who is it? But the voice ignored her and continued to say to Kiana, Kiana, your dream is to become an S-level Valkyrie, right? Upon hearing the familiar voice, Kiana reluctantly propped up her body, transforming from lying on the ground to sitting and looking in the direction of the sound. A warrior once said, dreams are a magical thing. Sometimes they can make people sad, and sometimes they can make people feel passionate and excited. Space-time drive. A sound effect rang out, and a familiar figure appeared in front of Kiana, Captain. The captain walked slowly towards this side and spoke as he walked. I don't have any dreams, press the dial on the hand. Shi Wang Er Jie. But, divide the dial in half, insert it into the slot on the waist belt, press the button, and two clocks in opposite directions appear behind the captain. I can go guard my dreams. Close your right hand to your waist, raise your left hand diagonally to the upper right, and gaze firmly at the counterfeit goods. Transform. Turning the waist belt with the left hand, the two clocks behind stopped spinning, and a few words flew out. A huge watch strap appeared out of nowhere, circling around it, night moment. When the Cayman rider is King's second rank. The strap was shattered, revealing the armor inside, and the flying text flew back onto the fake face. The real battle has just begun. Oh, what's so flashy? Look at me messing up your armor. The counterfeit didn't hesitate and flashed away again. Captain, be careful. Seeing the enemy disappear, Kiana immediately reminded the captain. Although she didn't know how the captain appeared here, she didn't allow her to think too much at this moment. The counterfeit appeared behind the captain, summoning a spear of Yakong to thrust towards her. Just as she thought she had succeeded, the captain slightly dodged the incoming spear of Yakong and turned around to punch the counterfeit in the abdomen, flying her away. Well done, Captain. Kiana looked very happy when she saw the fake cargo injured. Damn it, come again. The imposter was very unwilling to do it again, but the captain seemed to be able to predict it. Every time she appeared from different places, the captain could always dodge his attack and inflict damage on her. Damn it, I'll see how you're avoiding this time. After getting beaten several times, you understand that you can't get close to him. So you summon a bunch of Yakong spears and aim them at the captain. Without any panic, the captain of the ship pulled out the strongest ultimate sword and released the deadly, time extreme slash, sweeping away all the pressure and destroying all the Yakong spears. The despicable imposter was a bit hesitant to run away when she saw this situation. Just as she was about to leave, the captain appeared in front of him in an instant and punched her in the abdomen, sending her into the sky. Ha ha ha, I didn't expect this to be my escape route. The imposter laughed loudly, thinking that the captain didn't have the ability to fly and couldn't catch up with her. She looked down at the ground, and the captain calmly assembled the king's extreme sword, pressed the button, and released the kill. King's ultimate slash. A huge lightsaber condensed out and slashed directly at the counterfeiter. The counterfeiter looked at the lightsaber getting closer and closer to him, wanting to use his flashing ability to leave the attack range, but suddenly realized that he couldn't flash. He was chopped and exploded in the sky, falling from the air in a disheveled manner and falling to the ground. Damn it, who the hell are you? The imposter shouted unwillingly. But the captain did not respond, but walked straight to her, took out a dial in his hand, and pressed a button. Empty me. Then she placed the dial above her head and felt her strength rapidly disappearing. Now is not the time for you to officially appear. Go to sleep well, the captain spoke. You. The imposter wanted to say something, but before he could finish speaking, he disappeared in an instant. Great, victory. Kiana, who had been sitting not far away watching the play, cheered as she saw the counterfeit disappear. Oh, by the way, Captain, how did you appear here? Kiana cheered and later asked the captain a question. It's nothing, just a little trick, the captain said as he lifted his transformation and walked up to Kiana. It's just a dream, don't worry, you won't remember anything when you wake up. Captain. Kiana wanted to say something more, but suddenly felt her eyelids heavy and she fell back to the ground. Her figure slowly disappeared, and the surrounding scenery began to collapse due to the disappearance of the two people. The captain calmly took out a dial and pressed a button. Wuchi. A magic circle appeared in front of him, and the captain walked straight in. In Kiana's room, a magic circle appeared and the captain walked out. After coming out, the captain looked at Kiana lying in bed sleeping. Her sleeping posture was very unsightly, half of the blanket was kicked off, and her pajamas were messy, revealing half of her fragrant shoulders. The captain smiled helplessly and stepped forward to help her tidy up her blanket and clothes. He lowered his head and whispered in Kiana's ear, "My princess, I wish you a good dream." Then another magic circle appeared behind the captain. The captain retreated into the magic circle, and it disappeared. The room returned to tranquility, and Kiana lay in bed with a happy smile on her face, not knowing what she had dreamed of. Chapter 9. Assessment of Valkyrie Women. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The next morning, the sunlight shone into the girl's room and sprinkled on Kiana's face, who was sleeping soundly. Everything was such a beautiful scene. The girl's eyes moved, and she opened them in confusion. She saw the sun hanging high in the sky outside the window, sat up and stretched lazily. Ah, you slept so comfortably this night. Kiana raised her hand and rubbed her eyes, then lifted the blanket and got out of bed. She put on her slippers and slowly walked to the door to open it. Hey, X2. As soon as the door opened, both girls made puzzled sounds. I didn't expect Kiana to wake up so early once. It's not bad for the bed, Yai said with some relief. Hee, after all, today is the assessment for the Valkyrie. I won't be bedridden today. Do you want anything to reward me, Yai? Kiana pounced on Yai and rubbed against her, saying in a coquettish tone. Okay, this morning you're allowed to have chicken legs. Yai smiled and hugged the cute girl in her arms. Alright, go wash up and get ready for breakfast. Okay, Kiana reluctantly left Yai, who also went downstairs to prepare breakfast. Now let's move the time forward a little bit. On the other side, Your Highness Teresa, regarding the report and details of the Moonlight Throne that you submitted to the headquarters, Your Highness has been approved. In 3 days, I will arrive at the Far East branch to inspect. In the video footage, a woman dressed in maid attire, with short grey gold hair covering one eye and revealing the other wine red eye, appeared polite and reported to Teresa. Ah. Welcome Rita to my side for inspection. I have arranged the itinerary and look forward to your visit. Teresa showed a forced business smile, seemingly welcoming Rita's arrival, but her heart had already begun to mourn. There's one more thing. Ah. The bishop hopes that I can attend this Valkyrie assessment and witness the grace of the branch's Valkyrie. Ah. Teresa hesitated a bit. If Rita attended the Valkyrie assessment, there was a high risk of Kiana being discovered. What's wrong? Lord Teresa, is there anything difficult? Rita asked with a puzzled expression. No, there's no problem, I agree, Teresa reluctantly agreed in the end. Then Ranglita will leave first. Goodbye, Lord Teresa. Goodbye again. The video ended, and Teresa let out a long sigh. I hope there won't be any trouble, will there? On the other side, in the basement under the house of Tongxing Zhantu. Here, everything has been debugged. Tongxing Zhantu handed a cassette to Baoxing Yongmeng. Great, thank you, War Rabbit, said Baoxing Yongmeng as he took the tape he handed over, with an excited smile on his face. It's all about themselves, don't be polite. Next is your role. Tongxing Zhantu looked at Baoxing Yongmeng. You will be an important part of their growth. Don't worry, Baoxing Yongmeng smiled and patted Tongxing Zhantu's shoulder. Having been with them for so long, I have long developed a bond with them. Although it may have hurt them a bit, this is what we can do under the Tree of Void. If my death can help them grow, I think it's worth it. Baoxing Yongmeng saw it very clearly. Although he is a clone of his true self, after such a long time, he has already developed his own personality, which is essentially his own. He gladly accepted his own death. Tongxing Zhantu gave him a deep glance and finally let out a sigh. He didn't speak, and Baoxing Yongmeng turned around and left. Time goes back to the present. Soon arrived the practical part of the annual Valkyrie assessment, and the seats in the spacious and magnificent training ground were already filled with Valkyrie waiting for the assessment, as well as guests who came to observe. The theoretical exam had already been completed, and based on the news of a history teacher who refused to be named, Kiana finally passed the theoretical exam. Upon hearing this news, a physics teacher opened a bottle of champagne from somewhere and the history teacher cheered for a whole night. Finally, it was carried home by 2 passing doctors and the captain. Ahem, to get back to the point, there is an ancient saying in China that goes well. A mule is a horse, just take it out for a walk and you'll know. Practice is the only truth. The next practical assessment will be the biggest basis for the examiner to give them a rating. Finally we can take a break. Captain Hubert, who had just finished his busy work, changed into a white short-sleeved shirt and black pants and sneaked into the audience, smiling as he watched the annual celebration below. Yes, a group of people who have been working a lot in the past few days have finally had time to rest, Tongxing Zhantu beside them also agreed. Wait a minute, I remember you had a job today, right? The captain was a bit puzzled. Cough, as a lawmaker, Lao Yang must be stronger than me as an ordinary person. As the saying goes, those who are capable are more laborious. Tong Xingzhantu felt a bit embarrassed. On the other side, Lao Yang looked at the piles of documents piled up in front of him and asked himself, does it take teacher Tongxing so long to use the toilet? Or did he say he fell into the toilet? The captain quietly watched as the Tongxing Battle Rabbit stopped speaking, and Tongxing Battle Rabbit awkwardly turned his head away. However, this atmosphere did not last long, as Teresa took the stage to begin her speech. Dear classmates, guests, and teachers, the annual Valkyrie Assessment Practical Exam is coming again. I hope everyone can perform at their best and give themselves a satisfactory answer sheet for their time and effort, said Teresa, standing on the podium wearing a nun's uniform. Pop 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 pop. As the words fell, enthusiastic applause erupted from the surrounding audience. Shouldn't you go to the podium? Tong Xingzhantu asked the captain. I don't like to appear in public, isn't it good to be a happy onlooker? The captain replied. Also, Tong Xingzhantu nodded and continued to look at the podium. For this assessment, the headquarters has sent a wait guest. Let me introduce her to you. She is the deputy captain of the Endless Blade Team of Destiny, the S.Level Valkyrie. Rita Losweiser. Let's applaud and welcome her arrival. Rita, dressed in maid attire, walked up to Teresa and bowed slightly to take photos of the audience around her. Oh, 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 oh. The examination room erupted with huge cheers, and the S.Level Valkyrie was the object of worship for all Valkyrie. There were 3 Heavenly Destiny S.Level Valkyrie in active service, and the most familiar ones among the Valkyrie were Bianca Adagina and Rita Losweiser. How can one not be excited when their idol personally comes to watch their exam? Hello everyone, I am Rita Losweiser, the Valkyrie sent by the headquarters to inspect. It's nice to meet you all, Rita introduced herself. Ah. Lord Rita, I am your dog. Lord Rita is looking at me, I am so happy. Get out of here. Lord Rita is clearly looking at me. Lord Rita, please step on me. Hello pervert, but I like it, hee 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 hee. Some fanatical fans around shouted loudly, expressing their admiration. Rita is here, everything is still running normally. The captain grabbed a handful of popcorn from Tongxing Battle Bunny's hand and put it into his mouth. You old six, steal my popcorn. Tong Xingzhantu protected the popcorn with his body to prevent the captain from having another opportunity to take advantage of it. The captain glanced at him and said, yours is mine, mine is still mine. Why are you looking so far away? Shit, can you do whatever you want as long as you are the body? Asked Tong Xingzhantuji. Yes, the essence is to be able to do as you please, the captain replied with a smile. The speech on the podium was not over yet, and Teresa continued, in this assessment, the examiner is the A.Level Valkyrie from our Far East branch. Infinite Tajiko. Jeezy was dressed in formal attire and couldn't tell her usual messy appearance. She walked up to Teresa and said, I am honored to serve as the examiner for this assessment. Please take the exam with integrity, and cheating is strictly prohibited. I will give you a rating based on your actual situation. Please be serious. After saying that, she withdrew and went to prepare for the exam. So now I announce that this Valkyrie assessment has officially begun. Teresa gave the order and the assessment officially began. Kiana, you need to take a good exam later and not let down the teacher's efforts towards you, said Yai to Kiana in the waiting area. Don't worry, Yai, this young lady is very strong, Kiana confidently crossed her waist. Just don't drop the chain at the critical moment, stupid Kiana, Blonia struck from the side. Having confidence is a good thing, but don't underestimate the enemy, said Fu Hua on the side. Humph. I'll show you my experience later, Kiana said defiantly. Everyone smiled and then rushed to their respective examination rooms. The assessment is proceeding in full swing, and the performance of the students is quite good, especially the outstanding performance of Kiana and others. After watching in the audience for several hours, the assessment finally came to an end. Lord Teresa, Rita, who had been sitting quietly in her seat, said. "Well, Rita, what's going on?" Teresa had some doubts. Rita looked at the students below and said to Teresa, "I would like to choose one of the students who will participate in the Valkyrie assessment and compete with me. What do you think?" "Ah. Yes, the opportunity is rare." After speaking, Teresa sent someone to bring a roster and handed it to Rita. Rita looked at the names on the list and finally pointed to a name. Teresa approached and saw that it was Kiana, which made Teresa a bit panicked. However, she couldn't retract her words and could only hope that Rita wouldn't discover Kiana's identity. "Please come to the podium as soon as possible, Kiana Kaslana," the speaker reported. "Ah. Call me over." Kiana had some doubts, but didn't think much and went straight to the podium. "Kaslana." Rita looked at the name with a pensive expression. "No, it's not the Kaslana you know," Deliza quickly explained. "Oh. That's really impolite of me," Rita said. Kiana quickly arrived at the podium, and after Deliza explained the situation to her, she asked, "What do you think?" "Kiana, classmate." Kiana thought for a moment and then accepted. "Then please follow me." Rita stood up and smiled slightly. The fact that Rita was going to spar with the students immediately escalated, and many students came to watch the battle. "This hell game," said Tongxing Zhantu as he looked at the two people facing each other below. The captain beside him didn't speak, just looked at them. Kiana's combat talent is very high, but she is not very useful in the face of absolute strength differences. Jeezy can easily kill Kiana, let alone S.level female martial gods. After a brief confrontation, Kiana was once again knocked down by Rita. Rita smiled and said, "That's it, Kiana classmate. You no longer have the strength to fight." Kiana was in poor form, but she didn't want to give up and struggled to get up and continue fighting. "Mississippi not yet. Not lost," she said. Baoxing Yongmeng immediately ran over to stop her. "You haven't suffered much damage, but your stamina has run out. Continuing the battle will cause irreversible damage to your body. Someone can help Kiana down." Yai and Fuhua rushed over to help Kiana rest. "I'm really, increasingly looking forward to her performance," Rita said to herself as she watched Kiana leave, but she didn't notice that the captain not far away was also watching her. After a period of rest, this assessment has also entered the final stage. Entering virtual space through virtual devices for combat training is the latest technology developed by Tianming. Kiana put on her helmet. ID authentication successful, loading assessment information. 18%. 46%. 89%. 99%. Zizizi, system error, something's wrong. Find a way to restore the system to normal. Teresa immediately ordered. "Yes." The technician responded, quickly tapping the keyboard in an attempt to restore the system. Successfully loaded, Ganesha has been generated. Kiana had just logged into the virtual space when she saw two pig-shaped collapse beasts rolling towards her. "Hey! Why is there an Emperor-level collapse beast? And it's an enhanced version." Teresa panicked and couldn't force the virtual space to be closed now, otherwise Kiana's brain would be damaged. "As long as you knock them down, there's no problem." Kiana looked at the Imperial-level collapse beast in front of her, not afraid but took the initiative to attack. "It's too chaotic." Teresa was frightened by her niece's boldness. Tongxing Battle Rabbit. Baoxing Yongmeng looked at Tongxing Battle Rabbit. It's fast." Tongxing Zhantu's hand quickly flew up, and countless data flashed across the panel. "Alright, although we can't get Kiana to come out directly, we can send someone in." "Let me do it," Teresa volunteered. No, this system was originally only for training some low-level female martial gods, and there is no data for you. It will take a long time to re-enter, Tongxing Zhantu refused. Let me come. Baoxing Yongmeng stood up. You. But you're a doctor, GZ said in confusion. With this, I have ready.made data and can directly log into. Baoxing Yongmeng takes out a cartridge and drive. As for my strength, it's hard to say in reality, but in the virtual world, I am very strong. Okay, Tongxing Zhantu agreed, and Baoxing Yongmeng immediately picked up a virtual helmet and put it on his head. Why are you all acting so recklessly? Teresa said with some anger, but now she can only choose to believe in the eternal dream of Baoxing. Ah! Kiana rolled on the ground for a few laps before stopping. She propped herself up and looked at the two broken beasts in front of her. Damn it! I haven't lost yet, Mississippi. Kiana. A voice came. Kia turned her head and saw that Baoxing Yongmeng had arrived. Dr. Yongmeng, why are you here? Run quickly, I'll buy you time. Kiana urgently wanted Baoxing Yongmeng to escape. The doctor won't leave the patient alone to escape, he said, bringing the player's drive and pressing the cassette. Insert the cartridge into the drive with the versatile Action X. A halo of cassette tape surrounds Baoxing Yongmeng. Pull the lever for the transformation. Start the game, super game, extraordinary game, what's your name? I am the Kamen Rider. A humanoid armored man appears in the virtual space, full of game elements all over his body. What is this? Teresa was somewhat surprised. This is something I do in my free time, how about it? Genius, amazing, right? Tongxing Zhantu proudly said, but unfortunately, not many people are paying attention to him now, and they are all paying attention to the battles in the virtual space. Baoxing Yongmeng directly took out the card control destroyer and ran to Kiana's side to help her up. Let's fight together, he said. Kiana regained her composure and said, don't hold me back. Don't worry, I'm a genius player, he said and rushed up with his weapon. Ganesha also rolled towards them, and when faced with this straight ball attack, Baoxing Yongmeng easily dodged and had time to use weapons to counterattack and leave a few hits in the gap between evasions. This battle, how can it feel like playing a game? Teresa roast. With Baoxing Yongmeng blocking another shattered beast, the battle on Kiana's side has become much easier. The two of them are basically running around aimlessly, sneaking behind the shattered beast and taking the time to counterattack. Kiana. Run towards me. Received. The distance between the two people rapidly shortened. Preparation. Jump. Both of them jumped up at the same time, and the two shattered beasts behind them inevitably collided, stopping rolling and lying on the ground. Take the time to solve them now, said Baoxing Yongmeng excitedly. Okay, Kiana was also very excited. Baoxing Yongmeng inserts the cartridge into the kill slot. Cassette, all-powerful action critical strike. Mecha-car. The huge cat claws and flying kicks with special effects hit Ganesha. Winning. The crowd of onlookers in reality instantly cheered. Beautiful, I have also repaired the system. Let them come out soon, said Tongxing Zhantu. Chi Yana took off her helmet and gasped for breath. Baoxing Yongmeng also took off his helmet and came to Kiana's side, asking, is everything okay? Is there anything uncomfortable? I'm a bit tired, and thank you, Dr. Yongmeng, said Kiana. No need to thank you, you have nothing to do, so I can rest assured. Baoxing Yongmeng breathed a sigh of relief. Kiana. The voices of Yai and others came in. Your partner has arrived, I'll leave first. Goodbye, Baoxing Yongmeng said goodbye and left. Kiana wanted to keep her, but Yai and others surrounded her, asking for warmth and comfort, and asked her to take back the words that were on her lips. She could only watch Baoxing Yongmeng leave. I have something to do next week, maybe there won't be any updates. I apologize here and appreciate your understanding.